Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to the Tristar Gym channel. Hopefully, the volume is working well. Please give me a thumbs up as usual. Sorry for those who are victim to my technical difficulty. I I went live and it wasn't working. I had to shut it down and do it again. My apologies as usual. Please give me a thumbs up when we have sound. Thank you very much, Nick Papas, Kara Blackburn. Thank you very much. Today I didn't have anything really planned for our Ask Me Anything, so I'm going to do an old school Ask Me Anything where you guys can ask me anything you want on any topic whatsoever. I didn't have a chance to prepare the topic. There's been a lot of things that have gone on since my last episode, my last live episode, the Khabib fight versus Poirier. I was also there for that fight. I've been traveling also in Europe. I came back to Montreal and I caught the dreaded pink eye that has been going around in the jiu-jitsu community. So I want to talk about that as well. There have been so many good fights, Gaethje, Cowboy, etc. We can touch on all that. So I'm going to let you guys kick it off and pick any topic you like. But definitely want to touch on those topics that I mentioned. So go ahead, pick anything you like, and hopefully we circle back to all those topics I just talked about. Oh, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Rainbow. Thank you. This is special thank you to Gym Kings. Gym Kings, our sponsor, guys. They help make these episodes possible. Thank you very much, Gym Kings. I really love this tracksuit. It's really the Gym King stuff is really awesome, and I've had many sponsors throughout my career, and I'm very lucky and happy to be with Gym Kings. It's actually clothing line I really like. I've liked the other ones in the past, but this one I really like. They have a lot of nice stuff, including this tracksuit that you see me wearing here. So thank you for that. Also, special thank you to timtam.tech. They make the world's best massager, high-powered massager. The first one with heat. Make sure you guys pick one up. Put promo code Tristar Gym. Right now, they're giving you 10% off if you put Tristar Gym. The promo code Tristar, it's up there in the right corner here, on this side, excuse me. And also, you get a free, now when you order the Tim Tam Pro, you get a free pulse. Okay, the pulse is like, how do you say, it's one of those electrodes. You stick it on your skin. It's remote. It has no wires. It has nothing like that. It's $150 value. You get it for free. And it kind of like, I use it all the time. I use it when I travel. It's basically something you stick on your muscle, and it kind of pulses the muscle, makes the muscle pulse. It relaxes the muscle, and it's very therapeutic. Okay, I use it quite a bit. And also, check out jujiclub.com if you guys want to pick up any of my jiu-jitsu instructionals. Make sure to check out jujiclub.com. Get yourself one of these heel hook everybody mugs. Okay, these are awesome. You will enjoy it. Okay, guys, let's get going. Hello, are your eye okay? That's from Terra Boombara. Yeah, Terra Boombara. Let's start with that. That's a great topic. Okay, so I got the dreaded conjunctivitis. It's been going around in the jiu-jitsu community. This is first time ever some super strain, some mega strain attack the Tristar Gym, New York schools. I heard the guys in LA have it. We have to be very careful with this. Now, luckily, Tristar, it's been controlled. There was a number of people who got it. It's been under control. I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Philip Rolla, who came in to help control the situation. I don't want to make it sound like it was the Black Plague. It wasn't, but we take this very seriously at Tristar Gym, super seriously. If one person is sick, they cannot train. If one person has ringworm on their body, they cannot train. If you have staff, of course, that goes without saying, you cannot train. And we want to know when you come back. We want to see, is it cleared? And there's nothing wrong with getting that. People oftentimes, they feel offended. No, if you have a staff or you have a ringworm, the only thing wrong is to hide it and keep training. That's the only thing you can do wrong. Okay, so me, I've had ringworm. I've had staff. When I get it, I'm open about it. I go to the gym. I tell guys, I cannot roll today. I'm just here to teach you guys, tell you guys, what to do, this and that. I'm here to work. I'm not here to roll. I cannot roll. The bad thing, the negative thing is to cover it up. You have a staff and you cover it up and you go on the mats and you sweat up the mats and you roll with people and you start contaminating other people. Okay, that's totally wrong. And this is super important. If you have staff, People want to hide it because they feel like they're ashamed. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? If you shower regularly, you're still going to get staph, okay? Now, if you're the guy in the gym, and I don't have any of these guys in my gym because I don't tolerate it, but guys who don't shower, or guys who come in, sweaty in practice, like sometimes guys will hit the bag, then come onto the grappling mat for grappling class. I don't allow that. If you did a boxing workout and you're all sweaty, and you come to the mat to roll, and we're starting class, everybody is dry, you cannot start the class. You cannot be on the mat with us. You have to go shower, change your clothes, and then come drill with us. So, for instance, if I'm doing jiu-jitsu and I rolled 5 rounds, then I want to hit the bag, that's okay. I'm sweaty, I don't have to shower. I put on my bag gloves and I work the bag, that's fine. Because I'm not making contact with another person. You cannot start a practice where you're drenched in sweat, and the person you're rolling with or training with is dry as a bone. It's just unhygienic. It's gross, okay? Now, it's different when we're both starting dry and, we work up a sweat together, and, it happens gradually. But it's like throwing a wet dog on your lap, okay? It's very, in my opinion, it's unhygienic, and it's just uncomfortable. It's just it's impolite. It's just not acceptable in my gym. So when I start practice, I look at everybody, I scan the room. If I see a guy who just worked out, I tell him, no, you can't train. You have to change your clothes. You have to shower and change your clothes. Come back on the mat with a fresh pair of clothes, because that's number one. Number two, if you have a ringworm or a staph, it's probably because you've been rolling a lot. Okay, so if you roll for years, if you're going from white belt to black belt, I've never seen one guy not get staph or ringworm. What you have to do is you have to go get it treated by a doctor. Me, for ringworm, I just put the tenactin cream, that antifungal cream. It goes away right away. It doesn't take long. I mean, it's very quick. It's a very superficial infection. If you have staph, however, I put the tenactin right away and I go see the doctor, and usually it's enough. I've never had really bad staph. I've never had really bad staph. Now, I know some people who have had really bad staph, and they need pills. They need a doctor. They need somebody to administer, a more powerful medicine. Now, I'm not even sure if what I've had in my life is staph. I can't be sure 100% because all I did was put cream on it and it went away. I never needed drugs or like antibiotics. I've never needed IV. I've never gone to that point. I've never had that. Okay, because me, if I have something on my skin, I put the antifungal cream right away, and it's never always been easy. But I do believe I've had staph. I do believe I've had staph and it went away with antifungal cream, or just went away. I don't even know if it was staph, but it went away with antifungal cream. Now, I know some guys have had staph. They need surgery. They need like a doctor to go and cut it out, and it's really, really dangerous. It went too far. I know one guy throughout my years had that. He needed a surgery to take it out. So personally, I've only seen one case like that, and it's something to be taken very, very seriously. Now, that stuff you guys probably already know. What happened in the MMA or Jiu-Jitsu community is pink eye. Pink eye now just spread really wildly. In New York, Tristar Gym, in LA, from what I heard as well. What happens? One guy gets it. You can tell his eyes red. He should not be on the mat. But people don't know. People don't want to say anything. They don't want to object. Me, if somebody comes on the mat and his eye is red, I'm not rolling with that guy. There's no way I'm rolling with him. Okay, so if I was visiting at a school, it's not my job to kick anybody out, but I'll say, look, I think you have an eye infection. I can't roll with you. You should never be shy to ask somebody, hey, what's that on your skin? Can I have a look at it? I don't feel comfortable. If they tell you, no, it's just, I got a finger in the eye. Well, you know what? Please do me a favor. I can't roll with you. No offense. When you're cleared up, I'll roll with you. But I have a job or I have kids. I know I can't bring that home. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm like that. I'm very much like that. If I see somebody with something, because it's my gym, I ask them to step off the mat. If I was visiting a gym, it's not my job to tell people to step off the mat. I wouldn't, but I would bow out of the roll. Sometimes when I travel and I roll, sometimes I tell people straight up, I can't roll with you. No offense. I apologize to them. But just I'm very careful with me personally. I'm very careful with injuries and anything that's I can contract. Why? Because I work at a gym. I'm in a gym all day. I have to be on the gym. When I got pink eye, I have to be off the mat for 2 whole weeks. Believe me, that doesn't make my life easy. It makes my life very, very complicated because I have plenty of athletes preparing for combats, in combat sports, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, MMA, of course. And I have to be in the gym, but I cannot be physically in the gym, or I can't be in contact with the fighters. It makes my job hell. It makes my job very, very difficult. So I'm especially also injuries. I mean, if I injure my wrist or my shoulder, I have a ton of guys to train. I hold pads, I drill with them. I cannot be injured. So I'm very, very careful with that, because it really puts a great difficulty in my life. Now, having the pink eye for 2 weeks was really difficult. One, I cannot be in contact with anybody, and two, I still have to go to the gym and tell guys what to do. So it was just a really difficult thing to manage. Luckily, it's over. It's dying out. We have no more new cases of pink eye. And special thank you to Dr. Phil Rollo, who helped us come in and check the guys and make sure, because a lot of times the problem is guys have it, or they may have it. We're not sure. We need a doctor. Hey, does this guy have pink eye? His eye is just a little bit red, or is it me? Just I'm paranoid. I'm seeing red in his eye. Literally, that's the one of the issues. Like I thought this guy has pink eye. No, that guy has pink eye. And Phil Rollo was there. Thank you, Dr. Phil Rollo, who came in and checked us out and told us how long this guy's gonna need. Keep this guy off the mat. He's gonna. He was telling us, you're always contagious as long as you have redness in your eyes. So, anyways, this might be boring to some of you, but a lot of you who train, you should know this. If somebody has redness in their eye, don't roll with them. If you have red in your eye, don't roll. It's not a fun thing to have, but it depends what level of pink eye you have, what kind of strain you have, but this one going around is not a good one. Okay, so make sure to keep it off the mats. It's very, very important. And of course, gyms have to mop the gym. Gym owners, you must mop the mats. In my gym, we mop the mats twice a day. We use a mat solution. I don't use regular soap. I use a mat solution designed for wrestling mats. It's made for wrestling mats. Okay. The gym is mopped twice a day, and we're very careful with this. As a matter of fact, we have surveillance in the gym. We have cameras in the gym. No joke. I put cameras in the gym to make sure that the students or staff, because we also have students that mop the mat perfectly, and every square inch of the mat, every square inch of the entire mat surface. And the mop that you use for the mats cannot be the mop the gym uses for any other surface. So if you're mopping the bathroom floor, then you go mop the mats, that's not going to work. Everybody's going to get a flesh-eating disease. Okay, so you have to be very careful. Gym owners, the mop for the mat has to be just for the mat. It cannot be overly used. After a few months, you have to change it. It should last 2 to 3 months. Get a new mop head. An actual mat solution for wrestling. Okay, so don't use regular soap. Don't use bleach, especially do not use bleach. And of course, it has to be mopped perfectly. Now, I finish practice very late. I often see it with my own eyes being mopped. But if I don't see it with my own eyes being mopped, it has to be checked on camera. Okay, we have to make sure. And also, you know what? In the morning when we go to practice, the instructors know. My instructors are trained. They know to check the mats. They're rolling. There's jiu-jitsu classes early in the morning. If they go on the mat and it wasn't mopped the night before, they're gonna notice. There's a film on the mat. Now, this is like, you'll notice it right away. Nobody wants to roll on that. They're going to mop it. The employee's going to be fired unless he had a great excuse. Maybe he fell down the stairs. Maybe he broke his arm. You cannot forget to mop the mats. Okay, so with that said, guys, be very careful and make sure that when you're rolling and don't touch your face. Don't touch your eye. And I know I'm scaring you guys. Don't worry about it. This is something that happened. It's the first time it happens to me in 20 years. I've been training now for 20 years. It's happened to me once, and this is the first time I see an outbreak like this. Luckily, it's contained. Luckily, it's been taken care of. Everybody's fine. There are no casualties. I don't want to make it sound overly dramatic. I apologize if I am. But I think this is something extremely important. Extremely important. Okay, guys, what else we got here? Half my gym has staph infection right now. That's from Freddie Jackson. Well, you know what? You have to find out who's the first guy to have it. You have to educate every single guy. If you have staph, what does it look like? Don't come to practice. Let the instructor know you have staph. Tell everybody. Don't be shy. But me, when I have staph, I tell the whole gym. I tell guys, I can't roll. I have staph. I have the staph. Look, check it out. Look it on my back. This is what it looks like. Never hide any type of flesh disease or any. Don't hide it. There's no shame in it. I got it. Where did I get it? Well, I roll with you. No, you roll with this guy. Oh, well, maybe you have it. Let's check you. And we investigate. Nobody's mad about no. You should never be mad. Like, you should never be angry. I think that's the major problem. People are like, oh no, don't tell the gym. You know, you're gonna be the leper. Like, I call them the lepers. I call myself the leper. And like when I got pink eye, I said, oh look, I'm living the life of a leper now. You know, I can't train with anybody. And we joke about it in a way because, you know, we take it super seriously, but don't be scared to tell us you have it. It's not a big deal. You know, it's a cold virus. The pink eye, from what I've read, because obviously I want to read up a lot on it, it's a cold virus. Like, if you caught a cold, you could catch pink eye. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. Okay? It's nothing to be embarrassed of. If I have a cold, I don't go to the gym. I tell guys, I'm sick. I can't go to the gym. When people are sick, I tell them, don't come in the gym. Don't spread it out. It's only if you know you're sick and you come in, then I'm going to have a problem with you, okay? So if you have your gym, have staff, man, that went too far too soon, okay? Your instructor needs to get a handle on it. Sit down, have a talk with him. Say, look, you know, how can we prevent it in the future? Everybody needs to know what staff looks like. Everybody needs to know if you have something suspect on your skin. Show it to me. Once in a while, I give a little speech before I start practice. You know, I tell the guys, hey, guys, listen up. Make sure you shower after practice. Make sure that, you know, you cut your nails. Make sure that... if you have something on your skin, you don't know what it is, come show it to me. I'll tell you, like, I can tell you what ringworm is. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I also have doctors in the gym. If I see something that's really weird, I haven't seen before, I'll ask the doc in the gym. I'll ask you to come in when he's there. We'll figure it out, but you got to police. You got to manage this in the gym. Every gym has to do this. Absolutely, because we're such close proximity. We're literally touching each other. We're literally skin to skin here. We're literally sweating on top of one another. And there's going to happen. It's going to happen that we're going to contract things, but this has to be controlled as much as possible. Okay, we got a super chat here. That's from Nemagista. Hey, coach, I'm about to start BJJ. Is training 3 times a week enough? Listen, if you train 3 times a week for 10 years, in my opinion, you'll be like a purple belt. That's the standard I would probably hold you to. I'd probably say, look, after 10 years, it'll be a purple belt. If you want to get to black belt, you'd have to train 6 days a week. So think about that, okay? What is your goal? If you want to be a blue belt and training 3 times, in blue belt's not really, it's not a high mark, so it's not really hard to get to. Maybe in 2 years, you'd be a good blue belt. In 2 years. So it's enough if you want to get to purple belt. I think everybody should get to purple belt. Personally, I think everybody should get to minimum blue belt, but even though these days I'm raising my standards and telling people, get to purple belt. Get to purple belt at least. And me, whenever I give a purple belt out to somebody, a purple belt, I tell them that if you made it this far, in my opinion, you can't turn back. You have to get all the way to black, because that's the hardest belt. To go from blue to purple, in my opinion, is the hardest breakthrough. Because to go from white to blue it's Mickey Mouse. You know, you went to Disneyland. You don't deserve a medal. We took you around Disneyland and we showed you some stuff, and it's a good, it's a minimum, I would say, okay, for everybody. Everybody should have a blue belt. However, purple belt, we're describing you now as advanced. Purple belt, you are an advanced athlete. You're an advanced jiu-jitsu practitioner. You know advanced things. You know key movements. You know advanced positions. And if you're advanced, to go from blue to purple, it's such a huge divide that if you broke that far, you must now get to expert. You must. So every time I give a purple belt, I tell the guy, look, I expect you to become black belt. Like, this is it's like a bachelor's degree. You should get to PhD. So with that said, if you want to be a black belt, I would crank it up. Another super chat. My goal is to be a black belt, but the schedule says they only train BJJ 3 times a week. So what do you suggest? Well, let me tell you something. If you're training in a gym where they only have jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, like at Tristar, we have 3 classes a day. Think about that. We have 3 classes a day. We have jiu-jitsu going on all day long, private, semi-private. We have jiu-jitsu all day long. So in my opinion, find a school who has jiu-jitsu at least every single day. They offer you jiu-jitsu Monday through Saturday, at least. Okay? If you want to get to black belt. Because in my opinion, if they're teaching you jiu-jitsu only 3 times a week, unless you're in a remote area with a little population, then they're probably not that serious about jiu-jitsu. That's my first thought that pops into my head. Can I start MMA at 19 and become a UFC champion? That's from Omar Ismaili. Yes, it's very possible. Absolutely. Especially if you're a good athlete. Yes. Of course, you need, a good gym, good instructor. You don't have time to waste. How can you train to have longer attention span in a fight? That's from Toro Bumbara. Guys, I really appreciate if you guys can type in caps. It makes my job a lot easier because it's really small. I don't know how to make it bigger. How do you increase your attention span during a fight? Well, Torah, if you're not paying attention during a fight, what does grab your attention? There's somebody across the ring from you, or octagon, or cage, and that person wants to attack you with everything they got. If that's not getting your attention, I'm really worried. Like, I think there's something wrong possibly upstairs. Like, I think you need to maybe see a psychologist or psychiatrist and have yourself looked at, okay? Because that is something. Like, imagine, I'm telling you, how do I pay attention to a tiger trying to kill me? Well, sometimes I'm faced with a tiger trying to kill me and I forget. I see a butterfly and I just forget. No. If you're in a fight and you're being serious now, all your attention's on that guy. All your attention. So it's kind of a weird question. Okay, what else we got here? Cap questions. Questions typed in cap are going to take precedence here, guys. Please. Hold control and scroll up on the mouse to make the text bigger. Okay, let me try that. I'm on a MacBook Pro. I bet you it's not gonna work. Okay, so let me try that. Control. All right, let's see. Control plus scroll up on mouse to make text bigger. See, it didn't work. I knew it. You button pushers, you always promise. You push this button and that button, and you're gonna have what you want. And it never works. The button pushers. Okay, watch here. I'm holding control. Hold control plus scroll up on the mouse. I don't have a mouse. I have a mouse pad to make text bigger. Boom. Didn't make text bigger. Button pushers, man. Get your game together. Get your game together. I love the button pushers. I admire the button pushers. I wish I was taught button pushing in school. I went to school for I don't know how many years. I can't even calculate how many years I went to school. I went to school for many, many years. They never taught me how to push the buttons. And it doesn't really work. The instructions don't really work. No gi versus gi for a street fight. What's your opinion on Nick Rodriguez? UFC 243 predictions for us. And that's this weekend. Okay, let's do a quick fire. How about we do a quick fire round? Okay, let's go. I might start a quick fire. No gi versus gi for the street. No gi. What else we got here? It's command, not control. Okay, let me try control. Command now. Control. See, it didn't work. I'm pushing command, scrolling up. Guys, it doesn't work. Quit it. Button pushers, quit it. Command plus. Oh, I need the plus button now. Okay, command plus. Holy moly. It's zoomed in. Button pushers. I know how to zoom into the screen. I know how to. Oh, no, you button pushers on my screen. Oh, it worked. Okay, button pushers. You were right. Oh, I gotta push minus now, I assume. Okay, I need it back the way it was. Button pushers, you were right. I was wrong. Button pushers, but it made the whole screen giant. Oh, shit. Now I did the reverse. Okay, give me a second. All right. Button pushers, you have prevailed. You have prevailed, button pushers. You have promised. It was my fault. I didn't read the instructions properly. Okay, guys, now I got a big text here. This is fantastic. Button pushers, you are great human beings. I regret anything negative I ever said about you. Congratulations, button pushers. Okay, now I just got to make it a touch smaller and we're back on. We're going to do the quick fire. Hold on, it was control minus. No. Oh, shit, no, it's too high. Oh, no, all you need is command plus. You don't need to scroll. Okay, I got this now. Okay, command and minus. There we go. Now it's perfect. Button pushers. You guys are brilliant human beings. You run the world. You do. This world we live in now, this is your world. Use your force for good, I hope. I hope you will use your force for good. This is very powerful stuff, you guys know. Okay, guys, we're back on. Let's go. Quick fire. MacBook white belt. That's correct, Todd Reese. I am a MacBook white belt. Salam, what do you say the most training you can do per week without overtraining? That's from Bilal Kharis. Brother Bilal, this is a very the more experience you have in training, the more you can train. So it really goes to by trial and error. What I like to use as a measuring stick is the next day. Let's say I work out Monday night or Monday. Tuesday, if I wake up too sore, if I feel like I got hit by a bus, I overdid it. I should wake up feeling good. If you wake up feeling good, you'll work out again. And then you wake up one day and you're a little bit sore. Okay, I'm going to really ease back tonight. And I just use that morning session when I wake up and I'm brushing my teeth, I'm washing my face, and I'm going through, I feel my body. What did I do yesterday? And if it's toasty, if my body's really aching, that was way too much. The next time I try to repeat that workout, I'm going to hit it a little less. I'm going to gauge it. Okay, but you got to learn to listen to your body. There is no objective way. And I know people who use technologies and all that stuff. Put that aside, man. Get to know your body. You wake up in the morning and feel your body, how it's how sore it is, how banged up it is. Did I overdo it? Did I not overdo it? You should be training every single day, because that increases the volume. A person who trains every single day will always train more than somebody who trains really hard 3 times a week. Okay, that was supposed to be quick fire. I overdid it. My apologies. Hey, coach, what do you think about Tony versus Khabib? That's some Safir. I'm not sure if that's official, but I love that fight. I think that's great. Barbecue video. Frank Castro. Maybe one day. Listen, many of you don't know, I'm also a pit master. Okay, I'm quite renowned for my barbecuing skills. Maybe one day I will do a video and educate you all on the barbecuing secrets of the pit. Tic Tac Crypto, coach, we missed you. Been a long time. We were dying to have your thoughts on Khabib versus Poirier post-fight analysis. Tic Tac, I also missed you guys. Guys, I was traveling in Europe. I was actually, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Germany, London, and then back here. And then I got the dreaded conjunctivitis. Guys, my apologies. I really want to get on camera and do all the videos. When I was traveling in Europe, I had no Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was really bad. Not in Abu Dhabi when I got to London and Germany. So I wasn't able to get it done. And then I got conjunctivitis. That's why I've been off camera, guys. My channel now is back to regular schedule. Okay, I'm back to regular schedule. What did I think about Khabib versus Poirier? What did I think about Khabib versus Poirier? I'm really happy we brought that up. I felt kind of weird doing a post-fight analysis a month after the fight. But let me tell you something. Khabib is the greatest light heavyweight in the history of UFC. He is the greatest light heavyweight in the history of UFC, arguably the greatest UFC fighter in history as well. His performance was flawless. Poirier is a true competitor, a true adversary. Poirier is the real Rocky Balboa. He's the real Rocky Balboa. Him, Frankie Edgar, in my opinion, those guys are the real Rockies. He was just flawless, man. This is his time. He's head and shoulders above. He is head and shoulders above. When you have a victory like that over an interim champion, that is something spectacular. He controlled that fight completely, with the exception of one flurry. I believe it was in the second round, and I didn't think that flurry was that bad. I know Khabib was backpedaling, but I didn't think he was in real danger. I think he was just trying to reset. The takedowns were phenomenal. The top position was phenomenal. The jiu-jitsu was phenomenal. The submission was, in my opinion, too tight to escape. Poirier had no choice but to tap. Poirier did a very good job of trying to escape the top position, the gut wrench position. But in my opinion, it was just, we're talking about different level of gut wrench here. And he proved that he's the greatest lightweight ever. And Poirier had a guillotine attempt. I honestly was not worried about the guillotine. When I was watching it live, I didn't think he was going to get the guillotine, to be honest with you. Number one, Poirier is not known for guillotines. Okay, he's a great grappler. He's a great fighter. He's a great MMA striker. He does so many things well. I don't believe he's ever subbed anybody with a guillotine. Okay, and I only say this because to sub a guy like Khabib with a guillotine, you better be a guillotine master. Okay, so you might have a good guillotine, but you're not a guillotine master. Guess what? It's not going to work on Khabib. And it's not because guillotines don't work. The guillotines work. But your guillotine doesn't work because you're not a guillotine master. You haven't gone through the stages of guillotine expertise. There are people out there, in my opinion, that could guillotine Khabib. Not necessarily in MMA, but I'm talking about in jiu-jitsu in general. There are guillotine masters out there that can guillotine anybody on the planet. Those guillotine masters, they know so many little details about guillotine. They know so many nuances, so many things that if he does this, I'll do this. They have so much knowledge about guillotine that if you get wrapped up in their guillotine, it's hard to escape. Not impossible, but very hard. When Khabib was in that guillotine, there were nuances, there were things that were off, in my opinion. That it didn't look like it was a guillotine that would tap Khabib. I just didn't think so. I know Poirier is a great grappler. I know he's a black belt. But even black belts not necessarily are guillotiners. Like, for instance, I know black belts that just do armbar. Like, not just do armbar, but 95% of their subs always end up armbar. We call them arm collectors. That guy, he's really good with armbar. He doesn't do leg lock. He doesn't do a Darce choke. Maybe he knows a little bit. Maybe he Darces blue belts. Maybe he Darces a purple belt once in a while. But he never Darces a really good black belt. Why? He's not a Darce guy. He didn't take the Darce to that level of expertise. Because it takes a lot of Darces to get it right. Now, some guys are really, really good at arm bars. Some guys are really super good at guillotines. So when you meet a guillotine expert, that you need to be, in my opinion, to sub Khabib with a guillotine. You got to be one of those guillotine masters, okay? Unless, of course, if you hurt Khabib. Let's say, for instance, Khabib took a bad shot. He was dazed. He gets wrapped up in a guillotine. Then the squeeze is going to be enough, okay? There's just a squeeze. But when we're playing chess with the grappling and we're both, our wits are about us here. Nobody's hurt. Nobody's overly gassed. Of course, also, if let's say you're overly gassed, you can get tripped up in a guillotine, even though the guy's not a guillotine master. These things can happen, absolutely. But that wasn't the case. It was two guys grappling. They were both okay. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was overly fatigued. It was just straight grappling. It came down to the grappling. And I just felt that Khabib was really never in super danger. He was not in danger of being finished, especially the leg configuration that Poirier was using at that moment is more of a configuration for a sweep than a choke. You're more likely to turn the guy over than you are to finish the choke from that position. I personally have never been choked out from that position in that leg configuration. Personally, I've never tapped to a guillotine in that leg configuration that he had. I've been swept from that configuration, but not tapped out. So, in my opinion, I didn't think Khabib was even close to tapping. And then, he just took over. The top position was just, it was one-sided. And I really liked the post-fight speech Khabib gave and how he handled the win. And he's a true champion. And I found it to be, when he jumped off the cage, I hope he was joking. And I saw that he was, he jumped. For those who don't know, he jumped off the cage and jumped kind of after Dana White, kind of like joking around. And I thought he handled himself well, and it was just a phenomenal performance by Khabib. A really inspirational performance. All right, what else we got here? I was supposed to do a quick fire, but I didn't want to quick fire that fight. Khabib will smash your boy. Thank you, Hamid. Very, very appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. He attacked Dana. Yes, he did. Salam, coach. Do you think the Khabib versus Tony would be the lightweight version of Kane versus Verdum? I think it's even higher than that. With all due respect to Kane versus Verdum, I think it's even higher than that. No question, whoever wins that is the greatest lightweight of all time. No question. Look at Tony Ferguson's record. Look at Khabib's record. No question, whoever wins that fight is the greatest of all time. And in my opinion, that fight's, we all know that fight's been booked 4 times and canceled 4 times. I think that fight is going to be booked 2 more times. Now and another time at least. There's going to be a rematch, in my opinion. Why don't MMA fighters make big boxing money? That's from Freddie Jackson. Listen, that's a good question. I'm still waiting for that big money to come in. The boxing coaches also make big money, so I'm going to stick around. I think I'm going to stay in MMA until that big money rolls around. I think the market is just different. I'm not sure, but I think the market is just different. And I think that as the sport grows over time, there are going to be more and more mega fights, more and more big purses, and it's going to trickle down. And fighters one day are going to sign with UFC, and their first fight they're getting $1 million. Then we're going to have made it. That's going to be a great hurdle for UFC fighters to reach, where a guy comes in from another federation and his first fight in UFC, he's getting $1 million. It's going to be like NFL, NBA. It's just the market's going to keep growing, in my opinion. I don't think that it's going to stop growing. I think the generation of kids growing up now, they're watching MMA. They're getting more into MMA. And it's going to be the most popular combat sport, if it's not already. But it's going to be even bigger. In my opinion, it's not going to stop growing. MMA has only been around for 30 years. That is very true. Does the UFC have a monopoly That is bad for fighters, but good for the fans. That's from Freddie. I don't know if they have a monopoly. There's other great leagues out there. Bellator, One is huge, guys. One FC is huge. Brave. I just came back from KSW. I'm training, working with Roberto Soldic. Great event, guys. Amazing event. Super professional. Lots of money behind this event. Fighters are putting on amazing fights, getting paid well. Really impressed with KSW and all these other events. There are other events. For us, are you answering philosophy questions? Not right now, guys. That's going to be at the back of the bus. Okay, so we're doing that later. I'm from a country where there is no good MMA gym. How can I train? That's from Shawn Michaels. Sean, I would do, learn boxing, learn kickboxing, learn wrestling. Lots of poor countries have that. It's the jiu-jitsu that's a bit difficult to learn. If you're not in a metropolitan city, it's a bit difficult. So what I suggest is you get a group of guys. That's what I did. I had a group of guys training in my basement. I was training with a Renzo Gracie purple belt. He was only teaching twice a week. The other days of the week, I bought a mat, a 5x10 mat, and I would invite my neighbors, my buddies from school. Hey, would you come train? Would you come train? And we just had a little thing going on in my basement. Just a couple of guys rolling on a 5x10 mat, taking turns. And you just build it from there. Build a garage gym maybe. Mike Tyson says boxers often get paid by arenas. I don't know anything about that. I've never heard of that. For us, are you answering a philosophy question? No, not yet. I am a fan from a country. Oh, here we go. It skipped. All right, we got a super chat. Crooklyn sucks. He's asking, at my gym, I often roll with a friend who has 40 pounds on me and feels physically too 40 pounds on me and feel physically too weak to escape side control. Any suggestions to dominate giants? That's from Crooklyn sucks. Crooklyn, get my guard retention video. It's $20, $25. Go at jujiclub.com, get the guard retention video. Learn everything about guard retention. That video is like 20 gold gems of guard retention. I guarantee you your problem is going to start resolving by at least 30%, at least, maybe even 50%, okay? Escaping from side control is a good thing to know, but the true problem is guard retention. People shouldn't pass your guard, okay? You should rarely ever get past. It should happen once in a blue moon. If it's happening on a regular basis, guard retention. I will do side escape videos in the future because I do believe it's very important. But the number one most important thing is guard retention. So go get that video, check it out, learn it. It's really well explained. It's 45 minutes, but it's like a 3-hour seminar condensed in 45 minutes. You guys, if you're not familiar with my teaching style, I go straight to the point. There is no talking. There is no fluff. It's all concise. This is the move. This is how you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the details. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm expecting you guys to review it every so often, but it's chock full of details and straight to the jugular. All right, what else we got here? Your opinion on, hold on, it skipped. ADCC thoughts. Oh, man, that was such a great year. 2019, great jiu-jitsu. I didn't watch all the matches yet. I'm still catching up, but I did see the key matches. And listen, Gordon Ryan, he's the greatest grappler on the planet right now. And John Danaher, without a doubt, is the greatest jiu-jitsu mind in history of jiu-jitsu. I know you guys are going to say I'm biased because he's my trainer. I'm black belt under John Danaher. But to be honest, if you ever train with him, you know what I'm talking about. The guy's mind is on another level. Jiu-jitsu, it's on another level. How he explains the techniques, how he understands the techniques, how he creates a hierarchy, how he organizes his thoughts. He not only can make you a world-class grappler, a world champion like he did with Gordon Ryan, but he did it in such a short amount of time, this is the reason why I'm telling you. There's nobody greater in jiu-jitsu than John Danaher. There's just nobody greater. He did it in such a short amount of time. It's I can explain it. It's like building a skyscraper overnight. It's really complicated. But the reason why he's able to do so, of course, Gordon Ryan is a great athlete. You need a great athlete, you need a great trainer. Okay, that's what it takes. You need the combination of the two. If the trainer is great, the athlete is not great, it's not going to work. If the athlete is great and the trainer is not great, he's not going to get the full potential. He's not going to exploit his full potential. He's not going to go as far. To get that far that fast, it takes a tremendous amount of hard work and guidance. Both have to be, like I said, on par. But John knows how to get to the root of the issue. How to pass the guard, how to get to the root of passing the guard. You don't need these 10,000 maneuvers. What you need to know is these 5 root core elements, and that's really what I learned most about John, and he really gets to the heart of the matter. And for me, that makes him the best, obviously. And I bet you he's going to produce more and more champions throughout the years. It's not going to surprise me if he has more and more champions. One day, I do believe that he's going to have he's going to win, I would say, at least half the categories of Abu Dhabi, ADCC. It's all going to be his students. I mean, it's almost there already. All the guys who are competing, they'll go see him first. Maybe they don't put his name on their team, but really they train with him. That's the truth, and that's something I always disliked. People who will train with a trainer, train with him for a long time, and then represent another one. I always find that a bit poor taste. At least represent both. Maybe that guy brought you up to purple belt, and then somebody takes you and makes you a world-class black belt. You should represent at the very minimum the both. At the very minimum, out of respect. But that's another topic. You missed other super chats. Okay, let me scroll up here. All right, let me see what I missed. Abdullah Muhammad. Khabib said to Putin that he gave him the guillotine to make him tired. Very interesting. That could be very well the case. You let the guy, in the old school jiu-jitsu techniques, we used to say, when a guy has you in a guillotine, make those like choking sounds when it's not on. Just make the and let the guy squeeze himself out. And when your head pops out, the guy's going to be gassed out. Those are old school tricks that you learn as you're rolling throughout the years, because guys will do that and kind of brag about it. I was never even close to being choked, but I was making those noises. Those are cute little tricks that do exist. People do them, definitely. I personally don't really do that, but it does exist, and guys do also do that. All right, let's see what else we got here. You missed super chat, that was taken care of. The Von Prue choke commentary. Travis, hey, I did see the Von Prue. No longer Von Flu. Von Flu. It was awesome. Amazing. I saw it coming. I knew he was going for it. Obviously, we all knew he was going for it, right? He's known for it. And it was just phenomenal choke, man. It's a great choke. It's not a complicated choke. He just did an amazing job. What else we got here? Can we learn jiu-jitsu alone from online trainers? That's from Amrut. Personally, I think you need to be in a practice room where there are a lot of a serious trainer with serious athletes if you want to get to a higher level. I think if you're doing it in the garage or in your basement like I was doing it, you can only take you so far, but then you need to graduate. You need to go travel. You need to go do something to get mat time with a really more advanced athletes, because you're going to learn stuff that you didn't see on the DVD. Nobody can get into that level of detail. Why? Because when they see you roll, they can fix your issue, but you don't really know your issue. It's kind of like going to the doctor. You go to the doctor and he tells you, look, you got this thing. And he tells you all about it, but you didn't know about it. Why? Because that trainer or that doctor has seen that issue 1,000 times. So DVDs don't evaluate you, and you might have a underlying problem that could be resolved like this and take you to another level. And that's common. That's really the essence of training. All right, what else we got here? Coach Zahabi, do you think Gordon Ryan is the best no-gi grappler ever? That's from Corey R. Yes. Emphatically, yes. He's the greatest no-gi grappler ever. In my opinion, it's without a doubt. He is the case. It is the case. You missed more super chat. Are you kidding me? Really? Did I miss more super chats? What age is too late to be champion MMA? What do you think about Makwan Amirkhani? This is my second super chat, coach. Well, Ampulo, thank you. Makwan Amirkhani, yeah, he's a great fighter. Very good fighter. Absolutely, yeah, I know he's a great fighter. And what age is it too late to be MMA champ? Look, that's hard to say. It depends on your athletic ability. Very dependent on your current athletic ability. So if you develop your athleticism when you were young, you can get there. If you're not athletic, it's gonna be very difficult, my friend. Very difficult. So I would say, look, really late is 1920. It's really late. It's getting there. Okay. It doesn't seem like Gordon Ryan versus Galvao is going to happen, but who wins if it does? That's from Todd Reese. Look, Todd, I'll be honest. I know you're gonna say I'm biased, but I would say it's going to be Gordon Ryan. I don't feel that Galvao is as athletic, as big. And I don't think he'll pass Gordon Ryan's guard, and he's going to get tripped up in the leg locks. And the leg lock system is very new and unknown to Galvao. I think Galvao, when he fought Paul Harris, you saw him get tripped up in the leg locks. I'm sure he's worked on his leg lock defense and all that, but I think Gordon's leg lock game is another level than Paul Harris. Another level, like just levels above. We saw that with the Gary Tonin Paul Harris match. Paul Harris looked like a good leg locker, but not a phenomenal leg locker. Okay, I think that the leg locks he can either sub Galvao or keep Galvao at bay from passing. Galvao will not pass, in my opinion. He won't get through the labyrinth of leg locks. It's too dangerous, too risky. He's going to keep pulling away. He might not get leg lock, but he's going to have to keep retreating. So it's going to end up with a sweep or a sub for Gordon, in my opinion. Isn't Gordon suspiciously muscular? That's from Hisham. Hisham, you're a very observant guy, but let me tell you something. Everybody in Abu Dhabi, almost everybody, okay? I know I'm going to sound like the Diaz brothers, but listen, let's just say Abu Dhabi is very muscular. Everybody in Abu Dhabi is very muscular. Let's leave it at that. But not the coach, though, okay? Don't accuse the coach, even though I do take it as a compliment. But nobody ever does accuse me of being super muscular, so it's kind of a put down for me. For us, I sent you the same super chat 2 times, brother. That's from Paulo. Did you? I thought I did it, right? No, I answered yours. That's right. I answered yours. Okay. That's right. All right. What's your favorite kind of tree? Please think about it. That's from Tony Marconi. Tony, the maple tree, my friend. I'm from Canada. How dare you? How dare you think any other tree is as great as the maple tree? I'm very fond of maple syrup. For those of you who don't know, I love maple syrup. So I'm going to say maple tree. All right, what else we got here? Another super chat. 59, I don't know what. What's your current diet, and are you still doing intermittent fasting? Yes, I'm still doing intermittent fasting. Right now, I've just picked up the works of Stephen Grundy. Really amazing doctor. He's a cardiologist. Amazing book. By the way, the reason why I picked up his work is because I was running. I was going for a run, and I started having this stomach ache. And it's not normal for me to have stomach aches. I never have stomach aches. And I had other issues I don't want to get into, but my stomach was not feeling super great. So I got a few books on gut health, and I stumbled upon Steve Grundy's work, and I was really amazed. I made some changes, and I feel great. My stomach issue went away right away. Right away. He talks about, he's, listen, I've read so many books on nutrition, so many books on diet and nutrition. It's a never-ending story. It's just a never-ending thing, and there's always new researches. There's always new things to know. And people, when you bring out new researches, hey, there was an older research that kind of said the same thing, but not in the same way or not in the same detail. I understand all that, but he talks about creating a healthy microbiome in your stomach. Like he's all about the microbiome and what it takes to make a healthy environment for that microbiome to exist. And look, I've made a few changes. He wrote a book called The Plant Paradox. Plants are good for you, but they can also be bad for you. It's a paradox. Here's what plants are dangerous. Here's how you can eat those dangerous plants. He talks about like pressure cooking certain plant foods and eliminating lectins as much as possible. The lectins can over time harm you. So I made some changes. One of my sons was having a stomach issue, made some changes, and boom. And I'll tell you where I think my stomach issue came from. As I was telling you guys before, I eat a lot of, I love to barbecue. Okay, so obviously that's not plant food. So during the summer, coach, he goes off the rails a little bit on his diet. I eat more meat than I should because I love barbecue so much. I don't overly do it all the time, and maybe once or twice a week I have a really good treat. I cook a cowboy steak or a tomahawk steak for the family, or a giant porterhouse for the family, and we enjoy a nice barbecue. In his book, he's like, look, those animals eat antibiotics. Those antibiotics go into you eat an animal, the antibiotics now kill the the microbiome in your gut. And I was like, man, you think, could it be my problem? So I did all the stuff he talks about, how to build a culture back into your gut. And man, it helped me right away. I was feeling amazing. I eased back on the meat a little bit, and I feel great. I feel really good. However, when I got the conjunctivitis in my eye, I could not train. I did very little activity, very little, and my body just like, this is the first time, because I traveled to Europe and I was just coming back. It's been about 1 month since I trained. 1 month, 2 weeks for conjunctivitis, make it like 16 days. And with my traveling back to back, city to city, I didn't get a chance to train. I may have trained 4 times when I was in Europe. So let's say I trained 8 times in a month. That is the least amount of training I've done in my life since I started training when I was 19 years old. 19, 20, I started training jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I have not done that little training. And my body feels it. Like, I feel horrible. I can't understand how people who just don't train, oh, no, I don't do anything. I just go to work every day and I eat my meals and I go to bed at night and I go through my routine. It is the most unhealthiest thing you can do, is be physically inactive and eat regular food. That's like, I understand why people say, oh, I'm 30 years old, I'm getting old. Now I get it. I really understand where they're coming from. Inactivity will do that to you. Standard regular foods will do that to you. Processed foods, a high level amount of processed foods will do that to you. Listen, it wasn't. I can't wait. Like today, I'm gonna start training again because I feel like I've cleared up. Actually, I'm planning on rolling tomorrow, not today. Today, I'm gonna do something else. But when I had conjunctivitis, it's like a cold virus. My body was aching. The first 7 days, my body was like, it's like I had the flu. I wasn't feeling good. I had to stay home, and I couldn't. If you asked me to do anything, any running, or I couldn't move. Like, I was just too much pain. And of course, I can't train at Tristar Gym. I can't go in there, work up a sweat, and hit the bag and stuff. And when you have conjunctivitis, you can't do that. So I have to do my little workouts at home and stuff like that. But after spending so many hours in the gym telling people what to do, you come home. That's enough for today. I'm really looking forward to that. So for me, health is super important. That's why I like Steve Grundy, because he's not only talking about losing weight, getting fit. He's talking about how to keep your health, how to stay healthy for a long time. Because once you're not healthy, it's very hard to do anything else. Once your health goes, you're pretty much done. And check out Stephen Grundy. His work is really, really interesting. All right, what else we got here? All right. Kevin Lee versus Gregor Gillespie. Yes, I'm working with Kevin for this fight, so that means I cannot talk about that fight. So I know you've been writing it over and over again after. Thank you. But I'm not going to be commenting on that fight because Kevin Lee's currently training with us now for this fight. Daniel Restrepo. Small injury in meniscus. Should I get surgery? That's a great question. I've torn my meniscus in my right knee twice. One time I got surgery, and I currently have a torn meniscus, and I did not get surgery. Which one was better? Well, let me tell you. I was in I recently tore my meniscus. Let's call it like 8 months ago. I did an MRI. It's a torn meniscus. My knee was inflamed. They wouldn't bend all the way. Instead of doing surgery this time, I said I'm going to do physiotherapy. I'm going to do physio. I was in tremendous pain. At one point, the pain got ridiculous. Not going to do surgery. Now my knee feels really, really good with a little pain here and there once in a while. I've been told to do surgery, and I've been told by others don't do surgery. And both of them are experts. Okay, why? Because they really don't know if when you open the knee. First of all, there are studies before I start talking about what the discussions I've had. There are studies that show people who just did physio, and it's about the same. They're at par with people who did surgery. So if anybody has any contradictory studies, please post them on this chat. on the comment section on this video. I would love to read any other studies on meniscus tears, because from what I understand, it's about even. If you do the surgery or you don't do the surgery, like a year from now, it's about even, the recovery. However, the guy who doesn't do surgery is going to go through a lot of pain. Like, you're going to feel more physical pain. I really believe I want to try this time without surgery, because I'm scared of arthritis. And I was told when you open your knee, you can get arthritis. But if you don't open your knee, the meniscus, you have to shave off the edge that's torn. If you're not, it can use up your cartilage, and that can give you arthritis. So both camps tell me I can get arthritis either way. You know what? Here's my argument. Okay, I understand there's a lot of research, and the research is kind of like, at least to me, it's not very clear which one is better. However, I've seen lots of athletes not do their knee. So when you go in Thailand, you tear your meniscus, they're not putting you under the knife. Like, a lot of guys refuse to go under the knife. I've seen wrestlers, I don't want to name their names, but elite wrestlers have torn this, torn that. They don't go under the knife. Now, if we're talking ACL or PCL, that's a different story, okay? So don't get confused. Meniscus, I've seen guys tear their meniscus and say, you know what, I'm not going under the knife. They're just hard-headed, and then after a couple of years, they're fine. It's not a subject anymore. So I'm just trying that out for the first time. So a small injury to meniscus, I'm not a doctor, but I personally, I'm not doing it. So I'm in the same boat as you, Daniel. All right, what else we got here? Another super chat. Here we go. Let's see what this one has to say. Anthony, thoughts on winning big BJJ tournament to be only way to be successful having your own gym and in your mid-20s and blue belt? Are you out of that timeline? Anthony, you're asking me that, the only way to have a jiu-jitsu club is by winning a big tournament. I disagree. I very much disagree, because a lot of great jiu-jitsu practitioners are horrible teachers. So you go out there and you win Abu Dhabi, and then you open up a school and people line up to sign up. And then it turns out you're the worst instructor in the game, or people just don't like the way you teach, or you're not clear, or you don't know how to teach beginners, and your school falls apart. I've seen guys who are great jiu-jitsu practitioners not be able to teach, okay? And I've seen guys who are not jiu-jitsu champions produce more jiu-jitsu champions than a guy who was a jiu-jitsu champion, okay? So it's not always like that, okay? A teacher has to have many other attributes. He has to be analytical. He has to be a problem solver. He has to be sociable. He has to be very articulate. He has to be patient. He has so many other attributes he needs. It's not about just having a medal. So in my opinion, yes, if you're interested in teaching jiu-jitsu and all that, put your life in jiu-jitsu. Get to your black belt, and then open up a little school. Do it. Try your hand at teaching. If you have a calling for teaching, do it. Did GSP punch you in the eye? King Feeney. Yes, he did. Are you satisfied? No, he didn't. King Feeney, thank you for posting that multiple times. I hope this answers your question. No, I had conjunctivitis. I had the pink eye. Do another Joe Rogan podcast. That's from Ket4. Yes, I'm ready to do one. I am in LA in November. So if Joe Rogan is available, I am available. Salut Firas, quel mouvement l'humain maîtrise le plus selon toi pour pousser ou tirer? Ma deuxième question est, vas-tu regarder la Ligue des Champions? For us, what is the most important movement to master, pushing or pulling? In my opinion, it would be pulling. The pulling exercises are far more important. My second question is, are you going to watch the League of Champions? What is the League of Champions? Let me Google that real quick. It sounds like isn't it superheroes? Hold on a second. Or is that a new tournament? League of Champions. Let's see this. Nope. Nope. Not sure what you mean, buddy. I'm not sure what you mean by Ligue des Champions. League of Champions. Sorry. Okay, we got another super chat. Adam Mehmedi. Hey, coach, I got a small injury. I got a small inguinal hernia. Ouch. Doctor says I won't need surgery. Do you have any athletes who train with unrepaired inguinal hernias? Dude, I'm not sure what that is. Doesn't sound fun. Adam, I'm really sorry, man. I wish I could help you with that, but I would do a lot of research on that. And don't value one doctor's opinion only. You know, a lot of doctors, they just don't really care. You're just a patient to them, you know, and this is at least my feeling. I know there are a lot of great doctors out there. Okay, I'm not trying to knock doctors, but sometimes you're like, they got 20 patients, you got this thing, and he's like, you know what, this is what's good for you. And maybe it's not what's good for you. It's not what's best for you, I should say. What's best for you. Because his job is to kind of like not let you die, and then send you back on your merry way. Whereas I want to go back to where I used to be. I want to go back to optimum health. Okay, so that's a different thing. So what I would do is I would do a lot of research on that. I would ask multiple doctors. Nowadays, you have services online where you can ask a doctor a question. You can go on these MD sites. You can pay and ask them a question and find out who's the best guy in the world, who knows most about unrepaired inguinal hernias, which I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. So be really diligent in your homework and do your homework. Find out. Don't let this become a problem that's recurring all the time. Like, put it to bed. Make sure, like, when I hurt my back, I put it to bed. Like, I have a healthy back now. But it took me a lot of research and a lot of study and figuring out what's best for my back. Nobody came and just told me. Nobody came and just fixed my back. There was no such thing for me. I had to figure it out, and not figure it out medically, but I did the best research. Who knows the most about the back? What do they say? I tried their methods, and okay, this is what they say you should do on a regular basis, and I did it. You know, I did it. So find out who's the best in this area. Come to the UK? Question mark. Yes, definitely. I've just came back from the UK, and I'm looking forward to going back. All right, what else we got here? All right, Coach, why did you not do a UFC 242 post-fight analysis? I'm waiting here for so long. One Piece Slay. Which one was 242 again? Was that the Khabib one? I wanted to do, my friend. I just gave a long explanation about that earlier. Okay, I had to travel, and I had no internet access, and the pink eye. I got the pink eye, so I wasn't able to do it. Yeah, that's the Khabib fight. Yes, I just did it in this video. So if you go back and you listen to my comments on Khabib, I said he's the greatest light heavyweight of all time. Good weekly routine to use at a small gym that has a heavy bag and treadmill and weights. That's from Odama bin Laden. Odama bin Laden, my friend. I think the heavy bag is the best cardio. I like to run and do heavy bag. But the heavy bag, if I had to choose one between running and heavy bag, I would choose the heavy bag. Why? Because I'm building my skill and my cardio. And you can have a crazy cardio workout on a heavy bag. Get creative. Check out some YouTube videos on, like, for instance, I might do 10 rounds of bag. I know that might seem like a lot for you guys, but I'll do 10 rounds of bag, 3 rounds. That's 30 minutes of action, 1 minute break. So that's 40 minutes. It took me 40 minutes. I did my cardio. I did my plyometrics hitting the bag. And between, like, as I'm hitting the bag, I might do some push-ups. I might do some squats. I might drop down and do some V-ups. You know, at the minute break, I might do 10 jumping squats, or I might do 25 V-ups, whatever. I'm just kidding. Let the sweat going, you know, keep the sweat going. Or I might end the workout with 3 rounds of 3 minutes of intervals. Punching intervals, kicking intervals. There's just so much you can do in a bag workout. Get creative. Keep the body guessing. And it's low impact. It's super healthy. And your striking ability will skyrocket. You'll become a great striker. And you'll be super fit. You'll be super fit and a great striker. Whereas if you run all the time, you're fit, but you're not a great striker. You're not really, can't really do, you don't have any skill. You know, unless you're going to run away in a fight. Danger time comes and you run away. Maybe that's even... Maybe you're the wisest martial artist of all. Maybe you're the winner without fighting. Maybe you're the wisest of us all. However, I feel like if you can build fitness, if you can take care of your fitness while building skill, why not? What else we got here? Thoughts on Paul Chek? That's from Dom. Dom, you know the fitness world. You do. Paul Chek is a brilliant guy. He is a very brilliant guy. I heavily draw on his materials as well. However, he does sometimes use a funny type of language. You know, he'll start talking about yin and yang and positive and negative, and he'll start talking about that kind of stuff. But the way he's using those words, in my opinion, because he's a very highly intelligent human being, he's a tried and true trainer. I think he's just trying to get the message across. He's using that language to get a message across. I don't think he's trying to talk in a literal sense. So for me, if he's doing it that way, which I do believe he is, I don't want to talk for him, but I do believe he's using that language kind of push an idea. I think that's very highly intelligent. He's using a metaphorical language to make you understand an idea. I think that's highly intelligent. However, if you take it literally, then you're just being a poor student. However, I do highly value his opinions when it comes to fitness. What else we got here? Hey, coach, what is Izzy's path to victory? How should he deal with Rob's forward pressure? That's from YOLO. That's a great fight. Listen, I've worked with Whittaker throughout the past. Like he's lived at the Tristar Gym dorms. Like he's like a younger brother to me, so I'm always gonna pick him. I'm not gonna comment too much on that fight. I pick Robert, of course. I'm biased, of course, 100% biased. How does Izzy stop his forward pressure? Well, he's gonna have to he's gonna have to be in that matrix. He's gonna have to do his matrix moves. He's fighting in MMA very differently than he fought when he was fighting in the kickboxing circuit. I think it's the smaller gloves. The takedowns are a different issue. And it's different MMA. MMA is different. Those little gloves make a big difference. You have more space. All these factors can make a difference. So now he's kind of like fighting like a matrix guy. He's going to have to be really on in the matrix, if you know what I mean. Like he's going to have to be really elusive. And he's going to have to try to counter Whittaker. Whittaker's going to come forward. He's going to have to catch Whittaker coming forward if he wants to hurt Whittaker. It's a very tough fight. This is a 50-50 fight. Of course, I'm going to pick Whittaker because I know him. But it's a very tough fight for both men. Coach, what do you do when stiff from sitting and training right after? That's from Marco. I'm not sure what you mean. What do you do when stiff from sitting? So you're sitting all day and then you're stiff and you have to train. Well, listen, you shouldn't sit all day. Okay, Kelly Starrett has a great book called Desk Bound. Get it? You should be getting up regularly or work standing up. Get one of those stand-up desks. Okay, where you kind of like you're sitting on a stool, kind of, and you're halfway standing, halfway sitting, and you can kind of sit down and stand up. Sitting is the new smoking, guys. Sitting is really, really bad. Okay, like the way I'm sitting right now, I'm sitting in the lotus position right now. You guys can't see it right now, but I'm sitting in a really like a round couch here, and I'm sitting in the lotus position. If you're gonna sit, you have to sit like this in the lotus position. Okay, so that keeps your spine stable. Don't sit like in a regular chair. It's really, really bad for your back. Okay, so you're going to get injured if you train. If you sit for a long time and you're feeling tight, then you go train, you can get injured. You should be sitting in a way that when you get up out of your chair, or again, try to avoid sitting as much as possible. So A, don't sit. B, if you have to sit in the lotus position. When you'll get up and move around, you won't feel as tight. Okay, you should feel normal. What else we got here? What else? Mike Tyson's peekaboo style in MMA, Sadia. I think it's possible. We just unseen. Like if we're talking about peekaboo, like Tyson's peekaboo style, because there are other peekaboo styles. Tyson's peekaboo style, the hands are at the chin, and the elbows are like this, like tight to his body, and he's doing this. This we haven't seen. We've seen peekaboo styles like this, like kind of like Winky Wright peekaboo. That was also referred to as peekaboo style. However, the Mike Tyson style, where the hands are literally at the chin bone, he's trying to protect his chin by keeping his fist. Listen, amazing style. I love that style. Could you get it to work in MMA? Well, if you have that one punch KO power, yes. Because in my opinion, how long can you keep that position without getting hit? So it's gonna be hard to hit a guy like this. A guy who's doing this is gonna be hard, but you're gonna touch him. And with an MMA glove, you might cut him up. With a boxing glove, you might not have to protect the eyebrows much. But MMA, you have to protect those eyebrows, or else you're going to get cut. So it would be interesting. I think if a guy had KO power, like a real Mike Tyson KO power, he could pull off that style. It makes sense. What else we got here? Do hydro bags help with joints? That's from David. I use a hydro bag. I actually like it. I really do like it. Does it help with joints? I think it does. I use one of those smaller hydro bags. I like it. I don't just use that. I use traditional bags as well. I use a variety of bags. I have a bag garden in the gym. In my gym, I have a bag garden. At home, I have those Bob. The Bob guy. I think they're all great. But the hydro bag does help. I think it is better for the joints. Okay. Guys, a lot of you guys are posting the same question. I can't answer some certain questions. I can't answer, especially when it comes to fighters that I'm training currently for a fight. Okay, so please skip those questions. Coach, do you have an affiliate London excuse me, do you have an affiliate gym in London? That's from Kabir. No, I don't. Unfortunately, I do not. Coach, when are you releasing your book? I put that in the back burner for now. Salam, Coach. What's the best way to prevent ground and pound in MMA guards? That's from Muhammad. Listen, I like open guard, and I like getting back up to my feet. I don't like to sit there and play guard for a long time. I like to pop up. Like, if you watch the Jose Aldo fights, Jose Aldo always used the guard very intelligently, in my opinion. What are your thoughts about Krav Maga? Also, 59 KR is crowns. I'm not sure what that means. It's a Swedish currency. Oh, 59 crowns, my Swedish friend. That's from Nemagista. Switzerland is a place I'm really looking forward to going to one day. So I have to learn about crowns. Thank you for that super chat. What do you think about Krav Maga? Look, I don't know much about Krav Maga. I've rolled with a Krav Maga guy in the past. Like, I know sometimes they come to the gym. They're like, I have a Krav Maga background. And it seems to me like they know a little bit of Jiu-Jitsu. They're not experts in Jiu-Jitsu. They know a little bit of Jiu-Jitsu, which I think is good. But then they have knife defense and gun defense. I've never attacked anybody with a knife. I've never been attacked with a knife. So I've never done it. Maybe in the future, what I'll do is I'll do an episode, a special episode where I bring in a Krav Maga guy. And I bring in, I'll probably use myself, an MMA guy, a martial arts expert. And we'll both be attacked by somebody with a rubber knife. And we'll do rounds. Like, the guy will attack the Krav Maga guy for 5 minutes with a rubber knife. And then he'll attack me, and we'll see what can we do. You know, like, let's just see what's what. Like, what does Krav Maga do when somebody attacks you with a knife? And not to be, in a good way, like just see, just experiment. I'm curious. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know. I'm not saying that Krav Maga guy is gonna flop, or I'm not telling you he's gonna shine. I have no idea what he's gonna do to disarm that knife. I have an idea of what I would do if somebody attacked me with a knife. This, I definitely have an idea. It's something I've thought of. However, I have zero experience with knife attacks. Zero. But I'm willing to do it for the first time on camera and put it up here. Why? Because it's all about the learning. It's all about the learning. So in my opinion, it needs experimentation. So that's a good idea for an episode. You know what? I'm going to try to do that. I need a Krav Maga expert in Montreal. Is there a Krav Maga expert in Montreal that would be willing to do this experiment? I think that'll be fun. Again, it's all about the learning, guys. Kron versus Khabib. That's from MMA 101. Kron versus Khabib. That is a fight I would pay to see. Okay, so that is a fight I would pay to see. That is a very interesting. You should be MMA 101. You should be a matchmaker. Who knows? Maybe, I know they're different weight classes, but maybe Kron creeps up to the rankings, and it's a possibility. Who knows? That would be amazing to see. I would love to see this fight. But no time limit. Must be no time limit. Special rules. Tristar Dorm, 6 months full training camp. How much? I'm not sure. Mauricio, please do email Tristar Gym. Excuse me. Oh, boy, I'm going to put it into it's tsdorms. I got to put it up again. I got to start putting it up like I used to. I'm going to type it in the chat right now. tsdorms at gmail.com. tsdorms at gmail.com. Going into the chat right now. Boom. It's in the chat right now. Check it out. Send them an email. Ask them, hey, how much for 6 months? It's not expensive, really. We do a lot of training. We have people coming from all over the world. It's one of the best places in the world to get prepped for Jiu-Jitsu or MMA. Check it out and join us. You won't be disappointed. Khabib is too big for Kron. He would beat him easily. I don't know about that. Really, I do not know. I really doubt that. It would not be an easy win. Maybe he beats him, but it won't be easy. That I promise you. Don't forget, Kron is a world champion in Abu Dhabi. Yes, he is bigger. Yes, but it's not going to be the only factor. Did you sit often when you were studying philosophy in school? What did you do to balance your training? That's from Marco. Yeah, of course I had to sit. I was in university, but I was younger then. So sitting, my bones were new, so sitting didn't bother me as much. Now today, if I sit for a prolonged period of time, I'm not going to feel good. So it's miles, I don't want to put miles on my body. I want to keep my body as healthy as possible. So I did sit, but when I warmed up, I just warmed up. I just, I did like everybody else. I spent 20, 30 minutes warming up. If I felt tight, I'd spend 40 minutes warming up. But just get a good warm-up in. And after a while, your body, when you're well-trained and you're well-conditioned, it's not going to bother you. Nothing is going to bother you. Missing a meal is not going to bother you. Falling down is not going to bother you. If you're in good shape, sleeping for 2 hours. Sometimes I travel, I just slept for 2 hours. No problem. You want to train? I got to the next one. We got to train? I'll train. After a while, your body gets conditioned, and it could take more than an average person. Okay, of course, you're still human. It can catch up to you. You have to, after that, you missed a night of sleep, or after you missed a few meals, you need to catch up. You need to go back and take care of yourself. However, you can take more. You're more resistant. Brian Ortega versus Korean Zombie. That's going to be a hell of a fight. Wow, that's a tough one to call. I don't know. Too hard to call. Coach, if I want to develop my understanding and analysis of MMA and grappling, what should I be looking for when I watch? Is there any particular perspective you adopt? Jacob, I think you should get on the mats. You got to roll, you got to spar, you got to get to know what's going on the mats, because sometimes theory is one thing, but then you get on there and you find out that it's not what you thought. Okay, so that's why I still like to roll and spar with my students, because sometimes I have these crazy ideas and then I'm like, let me try it. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. That new thing I thought I came up with, let me check myself, let me try to adjust it and figure out a way that it could work, because the first way I thought of doesn't make sense. Now that I've tried it, I got new input and new experience, and I found that doing this maneuver may not work. Okay, so it's trial and error, and you got to get on the mats to figure it out. Okay, so and also you're gonna learn so much about fighting when you spar and wrestle and do jiu-jitsu. You're gonna learn so much. You look like an owl. Thank you. IDEC, thank you very much. I'm assuming you're saying I'm very wise, like an owl. Like I have the look of an owl, of a wise man. This is what I'm assuming you're trying to say. Coach for us, Zahabi. Coach for us, how do you think Khabib would do against Rafa Mendes or JT Torres in a pure grappling match? That's from Bruno. I think he would hold his own, but he would eventually get swept or subbed. But he would hold his own for a while. If we're talking about no time limit, he can't drain the clock, because the thing is, the truth of the matter is, if Hafiz sits to guard and all I do is break grips and push him off me, he's not gonna be able to score. Okay, or maybe he sweeps me and I get back up to my feet. If I'm playing the rules and draining the clock, we saw Uriah Faber versus Nikki Ryan. Uriah is a great grappler. Yeah, he's pushing Nikki off. He's breaking grips, but he's not grappling back. He's not trying to actively pass the guard. He's not engaging really. If there's a no time limit, you can't run. It's gonna end in a sub. Okay, it's gonna end in the sub. The MMA guys are great fighters, but they're not gonna be they're not gonna sub or avoid a sub from the greatest grapplers. And of course, if those grapplers came into MMA, they wouldn't last either. Okay, so let's not forget that. Training without a heavy bag, just sparring and double end bag. That's from man 440. Why wouldn't you use a heavy bag? Heavy bag is going to help you develop power. Okay, sparring is great for timing and reaction and adjusting your style. Double end bag is great for learning to hit a floating target, but you won't develop your power as much if you forego the heavy bag. I would suggest you do some heavy bag work. And also, the heavy bag is also going to help develop your endurance, no doubt. Okay, Coach, how do you develop athleticism at a young age, and can you develop athleticism at 19? That's from Mukhtar Muhammad. Thank you very much for that question. Listen, you can develop your athleticism after 19, absolutely. If you're doing it naturally, no PEDs, no steroids, you're gonna get a good return on your training. Okay, you'll develop your athleticism, but you won't get to that level of a world class like Usain Bolt, GSP. You won't get there. You have to start from a young age. So if you look at George, his whole life he's been in athletics since the age of 5. Usain Bolt, his whole life he's in athletics. Like if you want to get to that Yoel Romero type physique, you have to have been your whole life in athletics. If you want to do it in your adulthood, I personally have never seen it. And I always use the example of gymnasts. If you look at gymnasts, have you ever seen because their sport is who's most athletic. That's their sport. What's the end goal of football? Put this football in the end zone. Okay, that's the end goal. What's the end goal of soccer? Put this ball in that squared net. Okay. What's the goal of gymnastics? Well, let's see who's the most flexible, most powerful, most well-balanced, most coordinated, who's the strongest. Let's see Okay, well, here's these really hard exercises. Do them. Go ahead. Okay, so gymnasts, world-class gymnasts never start in adulthood, like their late adulthood, 25, never, and even 20, even teens. It always starts very soon after puberty, or during puberty, or before puberty. Their training always starts at that age. You never seen somebody 23 years old, 25 years old say, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in gymnastics. Let me go to the Olympics. I'm 30 years older in the Olympics. No, it doesn't exist. It never happened. Not to my knowledge, it has never happened. However, I have seen guys in their 20s go from looking like a regular Joe to looking chiseled, jacked, ripped, super strong, incredibly physically, and it was steroids, obviously. It was steroids. I mean, listen, if you train every day and you eat well, you're going to look like me. I have a natural athletic build. If you're overly muscular, it's because you've trained since you're young. I didn't, okay? I started training at 19, 20. I started very late my training. Yeah, you could be muscular. You can be overly muscular. You can, absolutely. Absolutely, I've seen it. Like every time I work with somebody who's a hockey player from youth, and when they're 20, they're shredded, they're ripped. It makes sense. It makes sense because, and I draw a lot on Tudor Pampa's work. Tudor Pampa, he did an analysis on world champions and what age they started. And all the greatest athletes, they all started before, during, or right after puberty. None of them, according to Tudor Pampa's research, and you can read periodization, it's in there, there's never really been a world champion. And look at, when I say world champion, don't bring out a guy who's world champion in bowling. Don't bring me a guy who's a world champion in pool, like the billiard balls. Don't bring me a guy who's world champion in darts, or a guy who's world champion in some kind of like martial art that doesn't rely on heavy amounts of athleticism. Okay, let's keep this in context. So we're talking about the Olympic sports. Okay, and we're talking about judo. We're talking about shot putting. We're talking about, okay, maybe not shot putting. Okay, let's put shot putting aside. I suspect there's a lot of steroids in shot putting. Let's say, for instance, I don't know. Okay, we can use boxing. We can use track and field. We can say pole vaulting. We could say gymnastics. We talked about that earlier. We can say, I don't know, marathon running. We can say, pick your sport. Baseball. Let's say baseball. Let's say baseball players really, really shredded. Now, we all know there's a lot of steroids in baseball, and you don't get really shredded from playing baseball. However, if that guy was cultivated when he was young, he's doing weights when he was young, he was running when he was young, he was doing pull-ups, he was doing gymnastics when he was young, he could be lean for his entire adulthood. He could be muscular and shredded his entire adulthood and into old age, especially if they were like, for instance, wrestlers. I know a lot of ex-wrestlers, guys who were my trainers. Were like, one of my trainers was 60 years old, the Greco-Roman wrestler. Really, he still works out, still swims, still muscular. No steroids, no, nothing like that. We used to go to the pool. The guy was a 60-year-old man. Like, you see, he's a lifetime of training. You see that. The guy's not a regular 60-year-old man. So I believe that that does exist. However, if you're in your adulthood and you're like a regular Joe, and then a year later you're like shredded monster, those guys are all on steroids. Come on now, let's be honest. Like I'm talking about somebody who has a six-pack abs and is lean. No, I'm not talking about that. You can get very lean and have six-pack abs. I'm talking about if you're looking like Yoel Romero. If 1 year you're looking like me and the next year you're looking like Yoel Romero, something's up. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, because you can definitely get to 9% body fat, 5% body fat naturally. 5% is gonna be a little tough, but it's doable. But I'm talking about if you're overly muscular. You look like the Hulk. Something's up. Coach, why do you have a big nose? Farouk, I don't think I do. Honestly, I don't think I have a big nose. But maybe it looks like that right now. But I've never been told that. You're the first person to tell me that. Hey, Coach, thoughts on feet problem? What's your thoughts on flat feet? That's from the Bafra. The Bafra, I have a really good answer for you. Check out Kelly Starrett's work. He has a book on running. I'm forgetting the name of it, but he has a book on running, and he talks about how he could fix flat feet. Excuse me. Flat feet, for those of you who don't know, it's when your arch collapses, okay, and your feet are kind of like this. They're flat, okay? In his book, he shows you somebody with flat feet, and then a picture of them I think like 6 months or a year later, and their feet are, or the arch is coming back. And he talks about how he fixes people with flat feet. If you have flat feet, you're susceptible to ACL tear. You need to get it fixed. According to Kelly, flat feet, one of the major issues is the muscles in your feet are not getting enough work. You need to strengthen those muscles. Now, again, I've read that years ago. I'm doing it by memory. Apologies if I'm getting a little bit wrong. From what I remember, it's totally muscular, the issue. Regardless, read the book on running. He talks about flat feet and how to cure it, and he shows you somebody he cured. Like, he shows you pictures of a person who had flat feet and no longer have flat feet. And you can't fake flat feet. I can't make my arch in my foot collapse. It's a muscular issue. Very important stuff. Guys, I watched the Fusi Tube fights, the Adam Saleh and Fusi Tube fight. If you guys want to talk about that, fire away a question. I'm making this episode a little longer than usual because I have been away for so long, and I know I owe you guys. So I'm going to keep this one going a little bit longer than usual. Yes, I saw the Fusi Tube Adam Saleh event. And I like this YouTube boxing thing. I really like it. Put a camera on, live stream, get some personalities in there. Let them box, 16-ounce gloves, headgear. It's safe, it's fun, it's entertaining. But I love seeing the fact that they're learning what training is like, what it is. And people are learning how to defend themselves. And I think as long as it's done in a good spirit, it's actually a positive thing. I don't like the kids boxing, though. I don't like young kids getting hit in the head. I think that's a mistake. And they had a few kids fighting on that card. I think it's a really bad idea. But for adults, I think it's okay as long as it's done safely, because they're not professional fighters, so it needs to be really, really safe. And I think it teaches people learn a lot about themselves, life, what it is training, what it is fighting, and I think it's quite something. How do you program your jiu-jitsu class? You use a summary. I don't know what you mean by use a summary, David. Actually, I like to cycle the way I train people in jiu-jitsu, so I don't always use the same formula. I have several formulas that I use. And I cycle through them to keep training exciting and to keep the fighters developing. Because if you do the same thing all the time, you start to plateau. Okay, but I'm not gonna tell you I can't tell you too much about my secrets. This is very important to me, so I like to cycle my training, the class training. Okay, so the format is always changing. What do you think about Adam Saleh's boxing style? That's from Abby Man. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I saw his fight. He fought a very tough guy. From what I understand, the guy he fought was a pro MMA fighter. I think somebody said that during the fight, but I'm not sure. Adam Saleh is a tough kid. Now listen, if Adam Saleh hears this, I'm willing to train him. I want him to come to TriStar. I'm going to train him myself. He has a few key errors. Like in the round 1, he got dropped really bad, and I saw it coming. I hate to say it, but I saw it coming. He's going to get hit hard. He's going to get dropped. And I was thinking that he's going to get knocked out in this fight. But Adam Saleh has a real heart of a lion. Even though his chin was exposed, he was making several errors in the ring over and over again. He managed to get out of there without getting knocked out. From what I understand, there were 16-ounce gloves. So if there were smaller gloves, he might have got knocked out that night. Okay, it's a very, very dangerous habit he has. It needs to be corrected. Adam Saleh, if you're listening, come to the gym. I hope you correct it. And hopefully you can have a long and healthy boxing career. Also, by looking at him, I felt he was dehydrated. He looked dehydrated to me. I'm wondering how his weight cut went, or if there was a weight cut. I'm not too sure if I don't think he had to cut weight, but he seemed, for some reason, he didn't have to cut weight, but he also seemed dehydrated. Sometimes fighters, believe it or not, will dehydrate themselves so they'll look more ripped on fight night. Believe it or not, fighters actually have this in their head sometimes. And I don't want to name names, but I know a guy who did a world title fight, not in MMA, in boxing. And he was cutting weight when he didn't have to. And when the coaching staff asked him why, and I know the coaching staff because I was helping them with their prep. And they found out he was trying to look more ripped. And I was like, that's the most ridiculous, absurd thing. Somebody should do him a favor and stop him from cutting any more weight. Like, he doesn't need to make any. He's as lean as he's gonna be. Like, he's made weight. No, but he wants to look more. It's like absurd, total absurdity. That's very dangerous for your health, cutting weight. and then you're getting hit in the head. You're not hydrated. It's really bad combination. Okay. I'm not saying Adam Salah was trying to cut weight to look ripped. I don't think he was, but he did seem dehydrated. Like, I don't know. Just sometimes by seeing so many weight cuts, I could tell when I look at you. I can kind of tell if a fighter's dehydrated or not. I felt he was. Coach, how do you strike efficiently? That's from Lilib. Well, you need to hire a good trainer and learn how. Okay, it's not something I can tell you, but you want economy of motion. You want to get the most out of the motion that you created. So if you spend 100 calories, you're trying to get the most out of that 100 calories. Okay, so if you spent 1 calorie, you're trying to get the most out of that 1 calorie. So if you're punching, whatever energy you're spending punching, you want to get the most out of it. Have you read any good books lately? That's from Crinklebean. Yes, I have, actually. I've been reading the works of Stephen Grundy. Excellent stuff. Make sure you pick it up. All right, I just got... Coach, what do you think about KSI versus Logan Paul MMA 1? I saw their first match. Actually, I really thoroughly enjoyed their first match. Now, I know they're not the greatest boxers in the world, but it didn't matter. It's just two guys putting it on the line. It's not always about... Like, don't get me wrong, 95% of the fighting I watch is high-level, high-caliber fighting. But I also like to watch amateur level and sometimes even street altercations because I want to see what's the difference. Okay, I don't promote violence in the street. Obviously, you guys know that. You guys listening to me know I'm very anti street fighting. Okay, don't fight in the street. However, I do want to see what the difference is. Okay, it's a trainer's. I just want to see what makes, if there's any difference and what are the differences. So, what do I think about their first fight? I thought Logan was stealing it early on. The first 2-3 rounds, it was all Logan Paul. Then KSI came back, and I thought it was a draw. It was, for those of you who don't know, their first fight was a draw. Now they're having a rematch. I do believe it was accurately well judged. Their first one was a draw, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rematch. I think it's gonna be interesting. Sorry, coach, you don't have a big nose. Thank you, Farouk. I appreciate that. I think you maybe mixed me up with Ariel. A lot of times people mix me up with Ariel Hawani. And my brother Ariel, he has a longer nose, a bigger nose. Okay. Coach, how to conceal working out a marriage? Wife asking for family time. That's from Bjork. Coach, how to conceal? I think you mean reconciled, working out and marriage. Okay, guys, that's a good little point. Now we've been, we're 90 minutes deep here. So I can go off on non-MMA fight questions, but I also want to clarify a video I made. I made a video recently talking about marriage, and Abe, our editor for this channel, posted it up. He's an admin, so he chops up the episodes and he posts them up. And he posted up that the marriage episode, my comments on marriage. And a lot of people were thinking I was saying that marriage is totally bad, avoid it. That's not what I was trying to say. What I was saying is if you can't find a good girl to marry, don't get married. And likewise for women, if you can't find a good guy to marry, don't get married. I'm married. I'm very happily married. I found a gem of a wife. I've been married with her for 12 years now, coming up 12 years. So I met her when she was very young, guys. I'll tell you something. I met my wife when she was 18. So I kind of like taught her my ways when she was young. So nowadays, a lot of people are getting married in their 30s. So you have a 30-year-old guy, a 30-year-old woman, and that woman's set in her ways, so to speak. And I'm not saying she has to be young but that's what you're going to be with. So be sure that's what you want to marry. You know, when you're 18, listen, when you meet a girl and you're 18, you marry her. I married my wife when she was 20. She's going to change throughout her life. You know, if you're a woman marrying a man, you marry him at the age of 20, he's going to change. Okay, and from 30 and on, you will change, but not as much. Okay, at 18, you're kind of finding yourself. You know, what kind of person am I? Or what lifestyle am I going to live? What are my interests? At that age, it's a very tender age. You're still not sure. You know, are you the type of person that works out every day? Or are you the type of person that reads books all day long? Are you the type of person that doesn't care about, their health? Are you the type of person that... what kind of person are you? Who are you going to be hanging out with? What kind of, friends you're going to develop? By 30, you kind of figured that out. Okay, so by 30, there are maybe less surprises. But a lot of times people are getting married at that age. I'm going to tell you, be sure that's the person you want to be with. Because a lot of times what happens in the West, people get divorced very quickly. I know people married for a year and they get divorced. It's like you couldn't even last a year. Why? Because I feel like women and men in the West are too competitive with one another. They're so competitive with one another. The woman's in the workforce, the man's in the workforce, and they're both trying to bring back more money. And whoever brings back the more money, he's going to be or she's going to be the boss. And marriage is the total opposite of that. Okay, so you're asking me, how do you reconcile working with marriage, working out with marriage? Listen, it's a compromise. So for instance, me, when I train or I go abroad, when I come back home, I always make a special, like, I'll take a night off from the gym just to spend with my wife and kids. So if I missed a weekend, I'll make it up. Okay, so it's always about making it up. So when I leave from the Montreal, I come back, you miss your family, you bring them a gift. I always make sure that when I leave and come back, when I come back, I put a smile on my wife's face, my kid's face. Okay, so especially also when, let's say, we're in training camp, we're training for a long time, and we're like, sometimes I would do training camps, I would be totally gone. Like I wouldn't see my wife for quite a while, or I would see her very little throughout the day. I make it up, I'll take her here for a weekend. I'll make it up. It's all about making it up, and they like that. They know that women will know that, oh, he's on training camp. He's done it before. He's training. He always makes it up to me. Now she's actually happy you're gone because she's thinking about what reward she's going to get or what type of, how you're going to make it up this time. Sometimes I'll take her on the weekend with me somewhere if I'm traveling, or I'll take her out to dinner, or I'll give her something. I'll buy her a gift. If you guys think this is incorrect, you're wrong. You don't know how a woman's mind works, my good friend. You're asking me my opinion, and this is how women's minds works. If you take something from her, you got to give something back, and you have to balance it properly, and the gift has to be good, or it has to be thoughtful. I'm not talking about you don't have to spend a lot necessarily, but make it good, make it thoughtful. Make sure that you're not wrapped up in your own world and you know nothing about what's going on in your marriage, because then it's going to fall apart. But like I was saying in the previous video, don't get married to a girl you're going to divorce shortly. Use your brain a little bit, because it's going to cost you a pretty penny. Now, especially if you're making more money than your wife, your current wife. Like, for instance, I have one of my students who, and I call him a jiu-jitsu bum, but sometimes I give a speech in class, and with the diehards after class, with the pros, or, when it's late and most people are gone, I'll tell how he's my greatest student. Why is he my greatest student? Well, because he got divorced, but she pays him. She pays him. Why? Because in the divorce, she was making the money. He was not making the money. He's a jiu-jitsu bum. He lives on the mats. He's homeless. He lives at the Tristar Gym. All he does is jiu-jitsu. He loves jiu-jitsu. Doesn't have a job. He's just all day jiu-jitsu. And then he gets divorced, and she's paying him. Now, of course, I was just joking. Of course, you gotta take this with a grain of salt, okay? But 99% of the time, it's the guy paying. But look, I talk about how he reversed the system, how he used jiu-jitsu in life. He used jiu-jitsu in life. The system is warped against men. Politicians are always giving women what they want. Most recently, I should say, women, when they got the vote, politics changed. Politics changed in the world. Now they're appeasing the women. The system is always about giving the child to the woman, and the woman gets paid, and the woman's on a pedestal. 99% of the time, the woman gets the children. That's what that's what's gonna break your heart. You're gonna have a kid with your wife, and then she's gonna take him from you. And yes, we have father rights and all that, but it's never the same. It's never the same. If you think it is, you're kidding yourself. It's never the same. Why? Try disciplining your son now. You're only seeing him on the weekend. You don't want to discipline him. You got him for 48 hours. You don't really want to crack the whip. But your son's acting like a little brat. Why? Well, he's living in a divorced home now, and he wants you to be nicer to him than his mom. His mom cracks the whip. Now you better crack the whip. He's gonna go with mom, and then you have this dynamic where you're fighting for the child. The child now has become the emperor. The child now calls the shots. Why? Because mom wants the child to favor her. The father wants the child to favor him. So you guys start putting this child on a pedestal, and now he acts like a brat, and now you can't crack the whip, and you can't discipline this child. And children need discipline, and they love discipline. That's the truth. And you get in this dynamic where the family is imploding, where the best dynamic is the two parents are on each other's side and the children are at the mercy of the parents. Like if they break a rule, they get punished. No iPad, go to bed early, whatever your punishment the kid has, he knows it's there, so he's going to start adjusting his character. He's going to stay within the boundaries. You know, he's going to put his dishes away. He's going to make his bed. He's going to do what he has to do to be a good human being. However, in a divorced home, this dynamic is usually broken up because the wife has a new husband now. You hate the new husband, and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to cooperate with her. When she talks to me, I'm going to be very cool. And it just kills that family unity. And that family unity is supremely important in my book. Extremely, extremely important. So when I go to train or I'm in training camps or whatnot, I make sure to always take care of that. For me, it's a high priority in my life. High priority to make things right. So if I'm gone for a prolonged period of time, I make things right. Or also I bring them with me. Sometimes I do also bring them along with me. Those are my that's my advice to you guys. Make sure if you have a family, you take care of that family. Keep that family united. Keep them together and make sure you make time for them. All right, what else we got here? Coach, would you rather be physically fit or technical for MMA? That's from Dragon King. Look, personally, I'd rather be technical. Like, you're asking me, would I rather be jacked or be a master of MMA? Well, being jacked gives you the appearance you can defend yourself, but you really can't. And being an expert in MMA, you may not have the appearance you can defend yourself, but you actually can't. So which one is better? If you're asking me, there's no doubt which one is better. Having the appearance alone is useless, actually. You're going to be kind of insecure. You're going to be an actually insecure human being, and people are going to figure it out that you're insecure. And those muscles are for show. Now, the best is to have both worlds, you know. But I like personally an athletic build, not muscular, jacked. I don't like that. I like athletic look, not overly muscular, jacked. Like, because it looks artificial to me. And a martial arts doesn't really look like that, generally speaking. Now, they do sometimes, but mostly speaking, they don't. They look like they're cut, they're ripped, but they're not overly bulging. Like, it's inefficient to have that much muscle. It's inefficient. So for me, I prefer a middle ground when it comes to physique, but as high as you can go in expertise, as high as you can go in ability and expertise. That's true confidence. Okay. And a lot of people, you know, they think like, I'm going to get really jacked and I'm going to have confidence. That's the opposite. It's the total opposite. When you're supremely skilled, then you have confidence. And I know a lot of guys want to get jacked because they want to attract women, but women actually prefer a guy who's very confident over a guy who's very muscular. Now, if you present a woman two men, one is really jacked, one is really confident because he's highly skilled in whatever endeavor he's highly skilled in. At first sight, she might be more attracted to the muscular guy, but once she talks to them or spends time with them, she's going to be more attracted to the guy who's highly skilled because that guy's going to exude true confidence. If all you are is jacked muscles, it's not going to take long for that facade to collapse. And when it does, the girl's actually not going to be attracted to you because women are unlike men. Men are very attracted by the eye. Women also, but not as much for as long. Women are attracted by the eye for a very short period of time. And then your look becomes your substance. Let me give you a great example of this, okay? They did an experiment on women. They showed women images of 100 men. And they asked the men to rate them from 1 to 10 on looks. And the guy would get 7 or 6 or 8 or, you know, it would float around there. Then they gave these women the same pictures, but they blended it with 50 other pictures. So they took 50 pictures of the first group that they showed them, and then 50 of the other. They want to show them the same picture again, but under a different circumstance. Now, the guy who was a 6 and the guy who was a 7 all of a sudden jumps to 9, 9.5, 8.5, 10. Why? What happened? What's the difference? Well, in the second round, they put a short bio. The same picture, same guy. But this time they tell you, okay, this guy's an engineer, or this guy's a doctor, or this guy's a professional at this, or this guy, he has some kind of competence, or some kind of, he's a entrepreneur. All of a sudden, the girl's eye now is like, oh, this guy's a 9, this guy's a 9.8. But previously, when it's just bare bone look, the girls would be like, oh, he's a 7. Nothing special, just normal. And if you look at some of these like singers or whatnot, if you like just look at them, what they really look like. If he was walking down the street, women wouldn't be jumping out of a building for the guy. But because the guy's a superstar singer and now he's on the stage, this is the atmosphere in which you present this man. Women are like, oh, they're fainting over this guy. However, if that guy had walked by them in the street and the context was completely different, the context is just he's just some regular Joe, the girls wouldn't be remotely interested in him. So I know a lot of guys they try to get jacked all day long. They're pumping weights all day long. But I do think it's a slightly bit of a waste of time. I think you should be fit. I think you should have, don't get me wrong, I lift weights and all that. But that's not true. I know your goal, young men. I know the goal of young men listening to this. The goal of young men, why they're spending so many hours getting jacked. I understand your goal. I was a young man too once. I was your age once, okay? But that's not going to work. It's not a great strategy. It's a good strategy to open the door, maybe, to meet a woman, but it's not a great strategy to keep a woman. And as you grow up, you'll see plenty of proof of that. Jack guys have more women problem than anybody else, okay? And that's why they'll sometimes just go into a very shallow type of lifestyle where they just meet a girl and then they meet another one. And they go in, because that's as far as they can go. That's as much as they can present. They can lure her in, but they can't keep her. So what they do is they discard her first. And then you see this lifestyle develop. I highly recommend being fit, but also have some substance. Develop an expertise in something, and an expertise will develop confidence. All right, what else we got here? Hey, coach, can you give me your picks for 243? You took a left turn there. Let's try something else. Why is George looking like a lightweight? That's from Wands. He's doing some fasting, okay? So he's doing like prolonged fasting and this and that. So he's losing some weight. Is fighting haram? LOL. Joke. That was a deep talk. I appreciate it. That's from Brian L. Is fighting bad? Is it evil? Is it something bad? Listen, guys, I did a podcast talking about that. And you know what? I actually listened to some of it, which I never listened to my podcast. But that one, people were asking me questions. I couldn't remember what I said. I might not have expressed my ideas as clearly as I could have, but look, in the end, I believe that there's a lot to learning about fighting, so that's why it's if it's done with the right intention, in my opinion, it's something to at least keep an open mind of. Coach, any advice on inspiring 16-year-old MMA fighter? That's from Friday night. Yes, find a great trainer and put in a lot of work. Put in that work, man. It's a lot of work. Can a heavy midget ever win a fight against a taller person? That's from Danielle Ahmed. Yeah, I believe that's possible. Unlikely, but possible. Why Khabib is so sure that he can defeat GSP? That's from Ali Al-Safagaf. That would be a question you'd have to ask him. That's a question you would have to ask him. First martial art one should learn to defend himself. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Why Khabib is so sure he can defeat GSP? You asked me that already. Man, he just keeps skipping my question. That's the Blood Brothers. Blood Brothers! How are you guys? Sorry, I missed your question. I didn't see you. Guys, check out the Blood Brothers podcast. I just did an episode with them. Unfortunately, I missed your question, my brother. So you're going to have to put it again. How do you get cardio like Khabib and Kobe? You need a lifetime of training. That's from Blood Brothers. There's your question. You need a lifetime of training. Okay, so it's really tough to develop that on the treadmill. Okay, it's very, very tough to develop that in adulthood. That's something you develop in your youth. For us, can you do philosophy question now? That's from Haytham. Go ahead, fire one away. I will take the next philosophy question you guys have, or anything, any question. How would a world-class strongman like Brian Shawn do against a BJJ black belt? That's from Wild Cuts. Wild Cuts. If he has no training, he's going to get killed. A true jiu-jitsu black belt will tie him into knots. Believe you me. Okay. Is 17 years old late for starting MMA and competing in the highest level? That's from Muhammad Amin. No, it is not late. You can get in the game. That's from Nietzsche's Thoughts, John Trainum. Well, I have a lot of thoughts on Nietzsche. You'd have to be specific. Nietzsche has a credible body of work. So get specific, please, with your question. Is it possible to train MMA alone? Abby, come on, man. MMA is a collage of martial arts. Thoughts on rugby? Shayan Dar. Very, very dangerous sport. Much more dangerous than MMA. Very dangerous sport. Best life advice you can give. That's from externs. Guys, you have to be specific. What about life? The best advice you can give. Are we free or conditioned? That's from Taxman. Taxman, we are both. We are both determined, and also we both have a free will. Are we free or conditioned? Bruce Lee was your thoughts, coach. Bruce Lee, what's your thoughts, coach? That's from Babu John. I think Bruce Lee was cutting edge in his time. Okay? In his time, he was a visionary. He was cutting edge. He realized that traditional martial arts were not comparable to boxing. Boxing had a real life experience, and it was tested on the battlefield, and that's what a martial art needs to be put through. I think that when UFC started, we saw that everything Bruce Lee said was true. You know, the traditional martial arts did not thrive. They did not survive. He had figured it out in his own experimentations. And he told the world about it. But, you know, we didn't see it en masse. We didn't see it. It wasn't a global phenomenon. It was just some guy talking about it. And that guy was an actor. So how much fighting advice you're going to take from an actor? But it turns out he was correct. Okay, for those of you who don't know, Bruce Lee did traditional martial arts, and then he put it away. He said, "You know what? I got into a fight. It didn't work. I was tired. It didn't come out like I thought it was." And then he experimented with boxing. He's like, "These guys have the real thing." And of course, kickboxing. And he says those martial arts are the best, the ones where you actually go and compete and fight and actually go through trial and error period. I totally agree with him. He's completely correct. And that's why, you know, when you asked me about Krav Maga earlier in this podcast, I said, look, let's go and experiment. I don't know. We have to try and experiment. Thoughts on Nietzsche's criticism of things in itself. That's from John Trainum. John, I have to look that up. I don't recall his criticism on things in itself. So, unfortunately, I haven't any comment on that. But I will look it up because I do not recall criticisms of things in itself. Philosophy question. Does consciousness survive physical death? That's from Awakened Mind. Awakened Mind, what an appropriate username for that question. Yes, I would tell you yes, consciousness does survive. Let me have a sip and then I'll tell you how. Okay, well, consciousness, for those of you who don't know, is the mind. Okay, so let's cut it up in a very easy way to understand. Okay, so let's put the brain on one side. Imagine I opened up my skull, I took out my brain. Oh, it's really heavy. And on the other side, I have my mind. Now, my brain and my mind, the brain and the mind are not the same thing. Okay? So how do we know they're not the same thing? Well, Leibniz put it beautifully. He said, look, if everything I could say about A, I can say about B, then A and B are one and the same. Okay? So humor me for a second. Let's say everything I could say about a dog, I can say about an animal. Everything I could say about an animal, I could say about a dog. Animals in general. So a dog is an animal. Okay, so everything I could say about A, if everything I could say about A, I could say about B, B and A are the same thing. So if everything I could say about coach, I could say about Zahabi, it's one and the same thing. So it might seem like really ridiculous. This is actually Leibniz's first rule of logic. It might seem absurd, but it's actually highly profound. Now, don't forget, Leibniz, before you guys say, who the hell is Leibniz, is one of the greatest minds in history. One of the greatest thinkers in history. Okay, he was a great mathematician, logician, philosopher. And he said, look, everything I say about the brain, I cannot say about the mind. They're not the same. They're actually distinct. Because you cannot say, everything you say about the brain, you cannot say about the mind. Some things about the mind are not the same as the brain. Like, for instance, the brain, I can weigh it. The mind, I cannot weigh it. It's not one and the same. Now, today's paradigm is overrun by materialism. What's materialism? Materialism means that this mug here, very cool mug, guys, you should get one, is made of a substance we call material. Okay? Now, material substance is something imaginary. It comes from the mind. It doesn't come from the brain. It comes from the mind. It is imagined in the mind. We never actually see material. So, for instance, how did we come up with material? Well, I saw a mug. I saw a mic. I saw a wall. I saw a shirt. A tracksuit, whatever you want to call it. I saw a pillow. Okay, there's a pillow here. And I said to myself, look, all these things are made of this substance. They're all made of something. That's something. I'm going to call it matter. But matter we've never seen. Matter in its raw form or matter at all we've never seen. So when we ask philosophers, hey, can you prove matter? Can you prove matter exists? They are unable to prove matter exists. All we ever find is this subjective element. All we ever find is actually mind. We actually never find brain. We only ever see mind. So let me give you for instance. We'll use Berkeley's triangle. I've talked about it many times. And the reason why I always use Berkeley's triangle is because one day it's going to sink in. Like if you're a fan of my podcast, one day you're going to hear this once too many times and it's going to pop. It's going to hit you. Let's look at a triangle. Can you imagine a triangle that's not of any color? It's not black. It's not white. It's not green. You could not imagine a triangle of no color. You have to have a color. So let's say we pick a green triangle. The color green is subjective. It is not objective. It's a property of the mind. It's a property of the mind. It's mind dependent. Okay. What else is there about that triangle? What's objective about it? Well, it has 3 corners. Its angles add up to 180 degrees. It has 3 sides. These are objective elements. Okay. But these objective elements rely on this subjective green. If we took away the green, we took away all those objective elements. This is a Berkeleyan point. Okay, now Ghazali made this point. Aristotle also touched on this, not as heavily as the Muslim and Enlightenment thinkers. But it seems that it's all subject of the mind. So we ask the materialist philosophers, okay, give us material, give us something that's concrete. You said this mug is built of something. The Greeks, Democritus said, look, all there is matter. He called it atoms. And the void. There's stuff and non-stuff. And this mingles in the universe. Well, okay, so show us that stuff. Where is it? They never can. They never can. Believe you me, okay, I've been doing philosophy for over 20 years. Well over 20 years. Intensely. They never can. And it absolutely never, ever is substantiated. Now, here's a common argument you're going to hear. Common argument. They're going to say, look, coach, and this is actually something Rogan brought up, and basically he it's a common objection, but it's wrong. It's a blunder. Okay, it's a blunder. Now, if you're not a philosopher and you don't have years of training in philosophy, you're gonna make this blunder. I've made this blunder, no doubt. There's no shame in making this blunder. We all make this blunder. But in philosophy, it doesn't stand. It is a blunder. Now, let me tell you the blunder. And when I tell you it, you're going to be like, coach, that makes sense. How could it be a blunder? How could it be a logical fallacy? Well, look, let's say I tell you, look, coach, your brain it produces your mind. So, for instance, your brain is like the steam train, they say, and the mind is the steam. So your brain is the hardwired material. It's the engine. And your mind is just a byproduct of the brain. How do I prove that to you? Well, look, if I cut this part of your brain out, I take it out. Now that affects your mind. All of a sudden you go blind. Or all of a sudden you can't turn left. You know, they do that. They operated on dogs. They would do they would remove parts of a dog's brain, and all of a sudden the dog can no longer turn left no more. He can only circle right. So he's circling right for eternity. Actually, interestingly enough, he later learns how to turn left again. But that's a topic for another day. Let's not go on a tangent. Look, coach, if I tickle your brain here, all of a sudden it makes you smell burnt toast or all these other crazy experiments they do. Every time I trigger the brain, every time I tinker around with your brain, the mind is affected. Okay. Why is this a logical fallacy? It's a logical fallacy because you're presupposing materialism. You're presupposing that the brain is a physical object. So you're telling me, look, coach, I'm going to prove to you that there's a physical world out there. Here's exhibit A. Look at this physical brain. If I touch it, it creates this cause and effect. I'm telling you, tell me how you know this brain is physical. Okay, here's my first premise. This brain is physical. You're assuming your conclusion. You're assuming the conclusion. Your argument is assuming the conclusion in the first premise. This is an invalid argument. It's invalid, okay? It might be a little hard to understand. It's not super simple. However, you're assuming that the brain is material, and then you're arguing from there. Okay, let me give you another for instance. Let's say somebody tells me, look, coach, if I give you this pill, it's going to make you drowsy. Your consciousness is now drowsy. That physical pill affected your conscious state. Okay. I'm saying you're assuming that pill is physical. You never proved to me that I'm asking you to prove to me that things are physical, and then you started off by saying this pill is physical. Look what it can do. Now let's imagine we're in a dream. Okay, I'm dreaming, and in my dream, I take a pill, and that pill makes me drowsy. Well, in my dream, that pill wasn't physical, but it created the same effect as in your experiment. It's creating the same effect as in your experiment. Now you're going to tell me, hey, coach, no. The world we're in right now is a real world. You're talking about the dream world. Well, then we have to ask the question, what's the difference between waking and asleep? There's no difference. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's no difference. It's unknowable. It's unknowable whether you're dreaming or awake. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, no, because I'm awake. When I wake up, I know I had a dream, but this world is ongoing. This is what we call consensus reality. Now, maybe I'm going too far here. I'll end at consensus reality because it goes a lot further than consensus reality. But let's talk about consensus reality. Let's say, for instance, I have a dream, and in my dream, I hit a home run, and I hit the ball out of the park. And I hit a home run. I run all three bases, and as I'm running all three bases, I tip my hat. And I get to the home, I tip my hat. And then the next day I wake up and that was a dream. And I'm like, wow, that was a cool dream. And then I go to the office and somebody high fives me and they're like, man, that was an incredible home run you scored yesterday. I'm like, what? What do you mean talking about? That home run, man, that was amazing. I'm like, really? What are you talking about? And then I go into my office and I meet my other coworkers and they're all like, whoa, high five, man, that was incredible. Your home run was amazing. They are now giving me consensus. Oh, we loved how you tipped the hat. Thanks for tipping the hat to us. And they know the details of my dream. That would be like, it would start confusing me now. It would start telling me, hey, is this real? Is it not real? My point here is simply that the only reason you don't believe your dreams are real is because you don't have consensus when you wake up. When you wake up, if you tell people about your home run, they'll be like, this guy was really dreaming. This guy's nuts. He thinks he hit a home run. Nobody saw it. I don't give you consensus. However, when you're in a dream state, while you are dreaming, everybody is giving you consensus. Everybody is giving you consensus. When you're awake in your daily life, everybody's giving you consensus. So logically, as logicians, we're always trying to find a way to tell the difference between dream and awake. And it seems every time we give an argument, it falls by the wayside. It falls by the wayside. It falls by the wayside. So all this to say is consciousness, everything is within consciousness, even your supposed physical brain. If your physical brain produced your mind, and your mind is the only way you know a physical brain, because there's no physical brain that are known outside the mind. All physical brains in the entire history of the universe were only known by minds. So if physical brains produce minds, and minds are illusional or illusions, that means physical brains are illusions. That's why it doesn't make sense, logically speaking. The mind is real, and the brain, we can't prove it. It's the actual opposite. When you go into the world of logic, okay, when we go deep into the world of logic, okay, because Don't expect your physicist or biologist to be deep in the world of logic. They're not. They're not logicians. They're taught a method, scientific method, and they run with that scientific method and they produce results. This is a pragmatic type of knowledge. It's a knowledge that's useful. It's not a knowledge that necessarily is true, which is a topic altogether. But basically what I'm trying to tell you is we know mind is real. That's for sure. We know there's a mind, but we don't know anything else beyond that. So the mind, for instance, the brain is created within the mind, not the other way around. It's logically impossible, actually. But to get to that point, you have to be a serious logician. A serious logician. Hope that answers your question. What else we got here? We are spirits. We have a mind which controls the body. That's from Renee. You know what? We can't even say the body's within the mind. So what do you mean by body? It's just another can of worms. Sam, coach, how can we be sure if contradiction is actually a contradiction and not a paradox? Couldn't one be both sitting and standing if they were sitting on the one reality and standing in another? That's from Haytham. Wow. Thank you for that punch to the gut, Haytham. What a great question. Okay, well, Haytham. Listen, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole as far as you guys want. So if you're not liking this, just eject. Push eject. Okay, so let's talk about the law of non-contradiction. Aristotle taught us a law of non-contradiction. Now, other people practiced the law of non-contradiction before Aristotle, for sure. The Socrates and the pre-Socratics, they obeyed the law of non-contradiction. Okay? They obeyed the law of non-contradiction. However, Aristotle put it in a neat little package for us. Okay, he put it in a neat little package, and so I'm going to credit it to Aristotle. But for those of you who are saying it goes before Aristotle, you're completely correct, 100% correct. Let's say I were to say all men are 6 feet tall, and then I say some men are not 6 feet tall. Could both these statements be true? So all men are 6 feet tall, and some men are not 6 feet tall. We're talking about the square of oppositions here, for those who are familiar. According to Aristotle, they cannot both be true. They are contradictory. So if I say, for instance, all men have teeth, some men don't have teeth, both these statements cannot both be true. They cannot both be true. And if you're going to talk about parallel universes, in this universe, some men have teeth. In this universe, some men don't have teeth. Excuse me. In this universe, all men have teeth. And in another universe, some men don't have teeth. Then some men don't have teeth would be true. Then some men don't have teeth would be true. One of them has to be false. Now, when we ask Aristotle, hey, Aristotle, how do you know this to be true? He says, look, it's how do we say again? Self-evident. So he believed that this solved the problem of infinite regress. So if I tell you, look, how do you know that fire burns? Well, you'd be like, look, here's this experiment I did. Well, how do you know this experiment works? Well, look, I've done it. This experiment predicts the future. Well, look, I've done it in the past many times. Well, and I keep telling you, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? And you keep referring back to experiment. And then eventually you're going to be like, it's never going to end. Okay, that's inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning, it ends. According to Aristotle, he's going to tell you, well, how do you know 8 plus 8 is 16? Well, let's define the terms, and it's true by definition. Well, how do you know that things that are true by definition are true? He's going to be like, because it would lead to a contradiction. How do you know contradictions cannot exist? He says that's self-evident. I don't have to give you any more evidence. It's self-evident. Anybody who comes to a contradiction will automatically reject it. Now, here's where it gets really tangled up. So I accept that things are contradictory cannot be true. If I tell you, hey, at 6 p.m. I was at the gym. If my wife asks me, hey, where were you at 6 p.m.? I was at the gym. And then she produces a photo of me, in a restaurant. She'll be like, hey, wait a second. There's a contradiction here. Here's a picture of you at 7 p.m. on the same day we're talking about. And you said you were at the gym. But I have a picture of you in a restaurant. That's going to be a problem. Okay, I'm not going to start telling my wife, well, how do you know that it's self-evident? I know it's not going to work. We all agree that if something is contradictory, it's untrue. We all accept it. However, If you ask a logician, is it true? He's going to tell you, look, we have no way to substantiate that. It's not good enough of an answer to say that because something is contradictory, it's not true. We need to substantiate why something cannot be true if it's contradictory. Exactly what you asked, Haytham, which is very, I'm impressed with you, with your level of thinking. Very good. So, in the ancient Greek, everybody accepted Aristotle's position. Everybody. And then we moved to the Muslim era philosophers. Everybody accepted it wholeheartedly. Then we went to the Enlightenment thinkers. Everybody accepted it wholeheartedly. However, and I always refer to those three groups because those are the three groups that I've studied. There were other great thinkers throughout history. Everybody accepted wholeheartedly, except we get to these paradoxes like you mentioned, Haytham, and then we don't know anymore if we were right to accept Aristotle's position. We don't know. I'll give you for instance, the most famous, the most simplest, the liar's paradox. If I were to say, this statement is false. This statement is false. If it is false, then I'm saying something true. However, if it's true, then it's also false. And we get this paradox. It's both true and false. The same argument is both true and false. It kind of flies in the face of Aristotle. Now, what do we make of this? I think if I unpack this a little bit more, it's going to get way too sticky for this channel. But ultimately speaking, we still have to prove Aristotle's square of opposition, even though we all accepted it wholeheartedly on face value, all of us. However, when we push human thinking to the maximum, we end up second guessing ourselves, going back, hey, the first thing we were really sure about, is it possible it's wrong? And there are philosophers that do write about Aristotle's square of opposition, and some philosophers today will claim it's wrong. We were not substantiated to agree with this. I haven't taken that step because, in my opinion, that is a self-contradictory statement. And then we're stuck in this non-ending paradox. Every which way you look, there's a paradox. I think this is the limit of human thinking. Personally, where I'm at personally in my career right now as a philosopher, I just believe this is the limit of human thinking. The mind cannot go any further. We're now staring back at our own mind. We're at the crossroads, where logic and truth is just there's a veil, there's a block, there's a level you cannot go further. And to understand higher than this, you have to be God Himself. You understand? So you have to be like, we have a limited. This is what I love about Ibn Arabi. He says, look, logic has a limit. He told us about it before we put it on paper. He told us, look, you're going to go to the maximum, go to the edge if you can of deductive reasoning. And you're going to reach a paradox. And that paradox is we cannot pierce through. And this is really what happened. This is really what it is. This is where logic is today. That's why we can never get logicians to agree. We can get them to agree all the way up until we get to this point. Then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And then there's 1 degree higher, which is mysticism, in my opinion. Mysticism. Something known outside of logical reasoning and physical experience. But this is a note for another day. I got one last super chat. I'm going to do this one and bounce because my kids now are home and I got to bounce. But you put up a super chat as I was signing off, Jeremy Brooks, and I'm going to end up on this one. What are your thoughts on perfect MMA training program? Oh, I can't believe you took a left turn on the MMA training thing. But you put $10. I'm going to answer it. As a strength and conditioning coach, I believe skills should be main focus. My job is to keep the athletes healthy and to perform better. Movement over maxes. Jeremy Brooks, I agree with you, but I also believe that there is times to, you know what I'm really scared about? Like letting my max strength go down. You're right. I should keep, as a strength and conditioning coach, keep the athlete healthy. But it's more than keeping him healthy. You want to keep him healthy, yes, but you want to add 2 more things. 1, keep his max strength at an adequate level, because the years of doing jiu-jitsu and boxing, your max strength will go down, and then athlete is no longer performing. He used to be better. He's past his prime, as they say. He's not past his prime. His max strength has dropped because he's done too much endurance work. That's 1. The other thing I'm forgetting right now, it was very important. Hold on, I got sidetracked. Max strength, and you said health, and there was a third one. I always remember it was 3. What was the third one here? I'm not going to sign off till I remember it. Max strength. Oh, yes, work capacity. Work capacity. How dare I forget work capacity? When I do just jiu-jitsu and just wrestling and just boxing, my work capacity can also become limited. If I run, if I jog, if I run, if I lift weights, if I do something very intense, it's more intense than jiu-jitsu. Now I can take a higher dose of jiu-jitsu. Okay, so you want to increase health for sure. Okay, keep those stabilizers strong. You want to maintain adequate levels of max strength. So if he doesn't have adequate levels of max strength, get him there and then maintain it. Okay, don't build higher up. You don't need a 500-pound back squat. You don't need it. That's a waste of time. You're better off on the mat. Okay, so you should be able to squat or deadlift 1.5 times your body weight. Might not sound like enough, but that's more than enough for a jiu-jitsu guy. I like 2 times my body weight. I think you should deadlift at least 2 times your body weight. But if you're deadlifting anything below 1.5 times your body weight, in my opinion, you're way like you're not gonna maximum potential. Okay, I would even say, look, go up to 3 times your body weight on the deadlift, but not higher than 3 times. If you're going higher than 3 times, you're wasting your energy. I even think let's keep it at 2.5 times. That's perfect. Okay, athletes are gonna vary. And lastly, work capacity. So if I send my fighter out for a 5K run on a regular basis, he's going to be able to do more rounds in the gym because his legs are used to more stress, more volume. So either hit him with higher intensities than he's used to or higher volumes than he's used to. That way, in the long run, he'll be able to roll longer, spar more, and drill longer. Guys, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave a thumbs down. Leave a comment in the section. I always appreciate it. And thank you guys. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.